Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt. This is going to be Session 8 of the Provokers campaign, which I have entitled Blood and Bone. We are still waiting on Juice to join us. I think he was taking a nap, so he's going to be wiping the sleep from his eyes and joining us here shortly. In the meantime, I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves, briefly introduce their characters, and then we're going to do a brief recap of what occurred last session before we dig into this session. And I also just want to say really quickly that we are going to be having a special guest joining us for a portion of the session tonight. These guys don't know that, but I hope that you guys will enjoy a cameo appearance by another RPG YouTuber who's going to be joining us and playing the role of a non-player character. So we're going to go ahead and introduce these guys, starting on my left with Barker.
Hello, everybody. My name is Barker. My channel is Be a Better Game Master. Thank you very much for showing up. It's awesome to have a double header of the Provokers. You know, 2 weekends in a row. Blew my mind. Blew my wife's mind. Took a lot of persuading, but we got it done. We're here, ready to roll. Check out beabettergamemaster.com if you'd like. Also, there's a link at beabettergamemaster.com. To a podcast called Roll Up and Die, which is a podcast that I do with Matt, our GM today, and with Alex Gillett, a.k.a. Captain Gothnog, over at Theater of the Mind magazine. So yeah, check us out. Thank you very much. I'm gonna toss it over to Nate.
All right. My name is Nate. My channel is WASD20 and WASD20.net on the interwebs. And I am playing the role of Aerdon Seroshent, who is a wood elf fighter from the Shade Vale, which I heard something about possible visit there soon.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I also forgot to introduce my character, Dice. Sorry, the wizard. Yeah, whatever. That's all you need to know.
Wizard
Dice
dude.
Whatever.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Tim, lay it on us.
All right, so I am Tim with Tabletop Terrors, and right now I actually just saw, if someone can listen, Juice sent a voice message through Facebook, not a regular written message, so if anybody wants to listen to that. But I am from TabletopTerrors.com, YouTube channel Tabletop Terrors, and I play Durgan Bloodmountain. I am the Dwarven Paladin from the city of Stone Rift, and I'm looking forward to kind of get out of Stone Rift now that a lot of things have been put to rest on my side of the world and head off into the foreign lands that Durgan is not familiar with. So,
awesome. Right on, guys. Do any of you feel like doing a recap of the last session for a point of inspiration?
It's a little depressing to revisit, actually. So I'm going to toss it to anybody else that wants to pick that up.
Nate's always good at that. I don't want to put him on the spot. But you be on the spot, Nate.
Sure, I can do that, but hold on. I'm trying to look something up real quick that I forgot. Boom! Okay. Let me just write something down before I forget.
The game started in the city of Stone Rift.
All right, so...
I want you to do like a Sir Celine-style recap for the Provokers one of these days. I think that would be great.
Yes. Very
All
good.
right, Nate, proceed.
We have confirmed that they are in the same universe, at least. So
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so last time we had we started in Stone Rift, where we had been for quite a while, which is a dwarven city, where of course Durgan is from. We dealt with some business there. We got the commitment from the dwarves of Stone Rift that they were going to take up arms against the Provoker. Or I'm sorry, the Corruptor.
Oh God! Spoiler alert!
Ooh, oh, they're coming for us! No. Yeah, the Corruptor, who is a rogue convoker, and he's leading an army on Falhast. We also got word that they were going to Shade Vale, and that they had been spotted there. And we decided that it was time for us to leave Stone Rift and head off for Falhast ourselves. On our way down in an elevator, however, we were ambushed by a commander, one of the Corruptor's generals, in fact, named Una Strong. What is it?
Her name was Una Strong Song.
Strong Song, yes. Yeah. And so we were ambushed by some of their, well, a little contingent, and the elevator proceeded to plummet toward the ground. As we all did, we fought for our lives as we were plummeting to the ground in an amazing sequence. Go check it out. And
so awesome.
We somehow ended up, I'll cut to the chase, we ended up with Una at the bottom of the shaft, and the others dead or fled, and we
elaborate on the Una thing. Go ahead, Nate. Go ahead. Elaborate a little bit more.
I told my wife about this today, and it made me like, I had to confess it to her. My character killed someone in cold blood. But we decided that the best thing to do would be to kill her. She wanted to die. My character thought she should die. Some others apparently agreed. Brasswick could not be present for it. Dice wanted maybe to do it, but could not do it. Broke down.
Wussed out.
And so Aerdon very quickly and mercilessly put her out of her misery. And it was a low point in a way. But anyway, we went on from there, and we used a magic ring that we had found, that we had acquired somewhere previously, and we teleported to the Wayward Wanderer, where we thought, it would get us a good shortcut and jump us ahead a bit. And in doing so, we discovered that someone who we had perhaps had a little dealing with, a dragonborn merchant by the name of Keenra, had basically found out that we had played a trick on him with a dragon scale, and put the stone that would teleport us into the bottom of a well. So we teleported into the bottom of a well, and I don't know what that was down there, but there was some beast down there that he was controlling. You D&D experts, you know what it is.
Yeah, it was actually an Otyug, which is the D&D version of a Dianoga in the trash compactor on the Death Star, essentially. So
nice. Yeah. So eventually we worked out that situation and basically fessed up and gave him the real scale, and he had mercy on us. There was, I think that beast dropped 2 of our players, so we were hurting, and that's where we left things. Keenra walked off, and he had exacted a form of revenge on us, and but spared our lives, and we are now at the Wayward Wanderer, I suppose, outside the Wayward Wanderer somewhere, ready to continue our journey toward Shade Vale, where we heard the Corruptor and his army were most recently seen.
I'm going to jump in too really quick, if that's all right, because
absolutely.
We learned a lot in the kind of the preface to the whole game about Aerdon Sarafshin, who I know I speak for everyone when I say we've always wanted to know a little bit more about this character, and it was really cool to see. If you haven't seen it, go back after this and watch it. His growth as a young child into kind of this warrior man that's become cold and just guarded from everything, and it was really well done by Nate, and extremely well done by Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was a great scene to play out. I really enjoyed doing that. And also, quick other few notes. Dice and Aerdon both received permanent scars. Dice received a frostbite scar kind of across his lips, and Aerdon managed to melt half of his face when Keenra breathed lightning into the bottom of the well. And I think are you grabbing that picture there, Nate?
Yeah, I've got it right here. So something like this, just kind of mangled, melted. Wait, I guess that. Yeah, there we go. And a little, into the hair a little bit. So some bald spots along these these scars.
One of our fans actually made some fan art. If you want me to share it.
Sure.
Virginie literally took our faces, and turned them into the Provokers. Right. Can you see that?
Hasn't popped
there
in
we
yet.
go.
There it goes.
Yeah, that's it.
God, Brasswick is my favorite.
I love Brasswick.
Just the look on Brasswick's face.
So happy.
Oh my God.
He looks
He's
like
just
Al from Home Improvement.
Yes, he does.
Hey, Matt, you should click on that. Yeah, there you go.
Oh my
So everyone
gosh.
can see it. Yeah.
Yep.
My wife's favorite is Durgan, because the blue beard.
I like Durgan. I don't know how they found that image of Tim like looking wistfully off into the distance.
Yeah, I was like,
No, that's not the distance. He's checking his tabs on his Google Chrome.
let me tell you what that is. I'm in the middle of having a fluid conversation, but it's like this.
Yeah.
Just grab a screen grab of me talking.
Perfect. No, yeah, that was an awesome piece of fan art from Virgin. And what was the other thing I was going to mention? Oh, Juice was here. Did he just leave?
Yeah, he popped in and then dropped.
Huh?
Hell.
Well, I was going to say that Durgan also now carries the hammer of Nosmer Stormhammer, which is a magical war hammer that can be thrown and deals thunder damage. And I believe we gave it a name. Is that right, Tim?
Yes, it is called Storm's Reach.
Awesome.
So the hammer is Storm's Reach. And it dawned on me that if I do minimum damage, I'm doing like 8 damage in most cases, which is crazy.
It's just fun,
that's
man.
awesome.
You can boomerang it. That's what's cool.
That's oh yeah, and then if I miss my target, it flies back to me. So
Yeah, it flies back to you, Thor style. Yeah, absolutely. So before I'm actually going to move us ahead a little bit, a couple of days forward, actually. We're actually going to begin the session with you guys standing outside of the borders of Shade Vale. And so before we do that, you guys have had a couple of days to rest up at the Wayward Wanderer. You've had a nice hot meal. You've bathed. You've slept for probably 16 hours in one day. Have recuperated all of your wounds, all of your magical energy. You're feeling rested and refreshed and reinvigorated to get back out there. But I have to ask, is there anything that you guys would want to have acquired supplies-wise, or anything in particular that you'd try to get while at the Wayward Wanderer before setting out again?
Part of me, see, here's the thing. I want to think of a way that's not cheesy and out of game, if it's even available at the Wayward Wanderer. Some type of healing potion or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like cheesy, though. Like, I don't know. I think I don't want to have a healing potion, but I feel like after almost dying 3 times, Durgan in his character would have some kind of break it on his forehead in case of fire. Like, so, I don't know. I'm not a big potion guy, but is that something I could get around here?
Yeah, if you were to ask around the Wayward Wanderer while you were staying there, you would, funnily enough, find your way to Keenra in his corner with his crates of supplies, and he has a few healing potions that he's willing to sell to you for 50 gold apiece.
50 gold apiece, he says?
Yep.
Oh, man. And you know what Durgan would actually say, after asking him how much, he'd probably say something along the lines of, "Yep, I'll go ahead and just pay it. That sounds actually very fair. 50 gold it is."
Yeah, not trying to haggle him down this time. I like it.
We saw what happened last time, so I will
Yeah.
actually, based on the amount of gold that I have, I will take 1.
1 healing potion?
Yes.
Okay, so this healing potion, when you drink it, it gives you 2d4 plus 2 hit points back.
Perfect.
And the other thing that you guys would have noticed staying at the Wayward Wanderer is that there's even more people staying here than the last time you were here. More refugees from the towns of the Western Southlands have flocked to the Wayward Wanderer, and it has become something of a sanctuary for these people. And you also would have noticed that there are more military types here, more town guards that have fled, and people are being outfitted with kind of rudimentary armor and weapons to better defend the Wayward Wanderer, because they have been hit a couple of times by barbarian raids. And it would seem that Rorge and Rian and Turl are fairly exhausted from running this makeshift sanctuary and defending it against barbarian attacks. But they, of course, give you all the time and care and supplies that you need on your very important mission. So they make sure that you're well fed and well rested before you head out. Nice. Is there anything else you guys want to do in the Wayward Wanderer before we jump ahead here?
I think Dice would be, in the meantime, right before setting off, he'd be kind of entertaining people with magic tricks, just kind of fun things, specifically people with small children. And he's really showing them, he'll take some water and kind of throw it up and it turns to ice, and he'll catch it and it's just solid now. And these kids will, they'll go up and they'll grab it and is it real? And they'll throw it at each other, and it's just laughter and fun, just trying to cheer people up. But specifically people with kids.
Yeah, and you do a good job of doing that, Dice, and you actually get the sense that word of your guys' doings have reached these people, and people are already talking about the Provokers in kind of hushed tones, and you guys might hear people say, "Oh, that's Brasswick," or that's Aerdon, and they're out there fighting, the man in the armor, the one who took our homes from us, and you get the sense that these people are looking up to you, and they have great respect and admiration for what you're doing. So, so you guys set off from the Wayward Wanderer, and it's a couple days ride to the borders of Shade Vale. It passes fairly uneventfully. You were advised by Turl to kind of avoid the roads for the most part, because they are being patrolled by barbarians, and so you sort of avoid the smaller settlements, keep off of the roads. But as you're traveling, you do see, occasionally you'll see smoke kind of rising in the distance, columns of smoke from battles that are being fought and villages that are being sacked. And as much as it pains you to avoid them, you keep moving because you know that you have a mission, you have a destination to get to. And eventually you come to the thick, dense forest of Shade Vale. And as you crest this hill and you see Shade Vale kind of sprawling out before you, you see that the sort of poking out through the thick canopy, you can see these massive, they look like almost like black stone obelisks sort of soaring up above the tree line, and some of them are kind of curved, and the longer you look at them, you realize they're bones, massive bones. And Aerdon would know these to be primordial bones. These are the bones left over from that giant elemental that fell here, and from his corpse is where this forest has sprung up. And so these sort of strange-looking bones are still kind of sticking up over the trees. And standing just beyond the tree line, you can see that it's dark within, and the canopy is so dense that there's almost kind of this strange, surreal green light sort of illuminating everything from the sun filtering through the leaves in the trees. And the trees themselves are fairly mundane, but you can see too that there are strange-looking mushrooms and sort of alien-looking plants as well. And these are all results of the blood of the primordial, and all of these plants sort of springing up from its remains. And Aerdon, you kind of look into the forest, and you smell that familiar smell of all the pollen in the air, all the kind of the mildewy, moldy, all of the leaves on the ground, and it smells wet, it smells dirty, it smells like home to you. And you take a big whiff of it, and I'm back in Shade Vale. and the forest yawns out in front of you.
And Dice sees Aerdon's expression, yeah, and he notices that it's completely opposite, bipolar from what it was in Stone Rift. And he just kind of looks at him and lets out a smile, and he says, "Home again, huh? Nice place."
Yeah, and I just definitely am kind of looking satisfied, breathing deeply. I say, "It is home, in a way." And then I would probably turn to my friends and I say, before we go in here, you should know something. I did not leave on the best terms. In fact, I left secretly. For all I know, for all they know, I'm dead. It's complicated, but my father was an exile. I did not grow up in Shade Vale for many years. For my very young years I did, but I had to leave. And when I came back, no one knew that I was the son of an exile. In the past weeks, in fact, I'm at peace with this, and I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm going to be honest, but I want you to know that there is risk here. And so if you're not ready to come in with me, I would understand.
And oh, go ahead, Durgan.
I was just going to say, I feel like Durgan would take a step forward and say, "Oh, remind me of the exact situation you just helped me with." And he would sling Storm's Reach over his shoulder and say, "So lead the way, lad."
I don't know, guys. We don't have much to do with risk.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Dice.
And I would look to Durgan, I would say, it does seem that you and I, well, you could say we have some daddy issues.
All right, ladies. Calm down now.
Now, wait. Aerdon, I've heard a couple of theories about the people of Shade Vale. I've never been here myself, so I want you to do me a favor and just tell me which one is true. I've heard that they are very...
We do wear underwear, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
Thank the gods in the elevator. Oh, sorry.
No.
Sorry, you were saying.
Dice lets out a laugh. He says, No. I've heard two things. The first one is that they're very upper-class people and garbed in wealthy riches that hate foreigners. But the second thing is that they're very woodland-oriented people in the wilds, clad in leaves and the bark from trees that hate foreigners.
So I'll fit in just great as I look down at my shiny chainmail and kind of start dusting it off.
You
could make for an elf there.
I actually couldn't tell you how we feel about foreigners too much because my time there I never saw any. But we'll find out, I guess. And as for the other thing, the second is closer to the truth. They're wild people. They don't have much use for finery. If it works, if it gets the job done, that's what matters. And we use all parts of the forest. We live off the land.
Great.
And Aerdon, just off the top of your head, you mentioned to your friends that it was a dangerous place, and just off the top of your head, you know that common occurrences, common things that you would come across in the Shade Vale would be razor vine, which is essentially barbed wire, organic barbed wire, pits of quicksand, tree blights, dire wolves and dire bears, saber cats, which are probably the most well-known and infamous predator in Shade Vale, which are they look like saber-toothed tigers, but they have these blades on their forearms that they use to slice through vines and shrubbery as they sort of run quickly to access their prey. And you also know of these great woolly beasts known as mastodons, which are greatly prized for their fur and their bones as well. Like the bones of the mastodon is what most elves garb themselves in and arm themselves with. You know, only the higher-ranking elves actually carry primordial bone weapons. Everyone else is rocking the mastodon bones, and so they're actually hunted a lot of the time by your people and by the orcs. And on that same note, you know of the orcs who live in the north in Skull Ridge, and they're known to ride on these giant bats. They ride around on these giant bats and sort of ambush people in the forest. And deeper within the forest, you know of the trolls. Ancient people, older than the elves, maybe older than the primordial itself. The trolls have been here since the forest began, as far as you can tell.
And I think Durgan would lean over to Brasswick, you know, hearing all this, and he would kind of say, you know, I don't think I've even seen so much as a rock in the last, 2 miles. And then you'd notice that he would have, you know that dirt that builds up between the cracks in your neck?
Yeah.
Just that, and these fat beads of sweat that are more than combat. It's the hot, hot forest. And you just see, he swats a mosquito and just so out of his element and kind of just looking to Brasswick like, what have we gotten ourselves into?
He looks back at Durgan and he says, well, buddy, so where I'm from, we are inset in the ground as well, but we are surrounded by some forests. So I'm a little bit in my element here.
Aye.
So are you guys entering the forest and moving in? And Aerdon, you know the general direction of where the city of Shade Vale is located. So you would know in which direction to go.
Yeah, I would absolutely kind of look behind me to confirm, and I would nod to my companions and set off. Off we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And
It's
worth noting that, you know, I'll just say it so it's not too metagamey. Durgan is very loud, and there's no other way he can be, so it's a very clunk, according to my stats.
Yeah. No,
so
absolutely.
Just for purposes and all that, I'm just clunk, you know, clunking along here.
Yeah, and if you guys are attempting to move stealthily, or as stealthily as you can with 2 dwarves in the party, you know, it's going to take you significantly longer to find your way to the city of Shade Vale. So as you move through the forest, and the golden light of the sun sort of fades behind you, and you know you arrived here in the morning, but it may as well be evening here in Shade Vale. The canopy is so dense and so thick, and the foliage is just so dense that the light just gets cut off as it filters through, and so you're left in the kind of this surreal green glow on everything. And as you're walking, you can hear commotion on all sides, just birds crying out, and you hear great hulking shapes moving through the shrubs, you know, 50 feet that way, 40 feet that way. This place is just teeming with life, and it's Aerdon, you have been here long enough to know that it's not when the forest is alive like this that you need to worry. It's when it's still. It's when the wind is not blowing through the leaves. It's when you can't hear the birds crying. It's when you can't hear things rustling in the bushes. You know, as soon as it's still and quiet, you start to get nervous. And that happens right now. The birds stop crying, and you see a few of them kind of fly overhead in the other direction, and there's just this kind of heavy silence that falls on the group. And Aerdon notices it first, and actually Brasswick would also kind of catch on to the fact that it just got really quiet.
I would hold up my hand quickly and almost like I'm in a military formation, I would just quickly knock an arrow, and in one deft move, I would quickly slide behind a tree or a rock or something in motion and kind of give a nod to my friends to do the same.
Great.
Yeah, I'll when he does that, I look confused for a second, and I will look and I will basically grab Durgan by the chest so that he knows that I'm like stop, without me saying anything.
Yeah, and I would probably walk into your hand, sort of, because the way I'm taking is that Durgan is taking all of this in, and it's probably very, very, very.
It's very.
Yeah, I agree. Do you see the picture that it's paused at?
Oh no.
Okay. Oh, say that again, Tim. It's very, very, very what?
Cut out at very.
Oh man.
I think it was the third very.
Yeah, very, very, very is what I heard.
I think he meant very, very, very special to travel with Brasswick through here.
I think he meant very, very, very smelly to travel with Brasswick through here. I don't know though.
It's only because we're right in front of you, Dice.
I know.
just tried to adjust my bandwidth real quick. Hopefully is that a little better?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been good until then. You're good.
Yeah.
The idea is that Durgan is very, very, very uncomfortable, but he understands the importance of this to Aerdon. So he is very aloof in a way because this is just so new to him. So I would walk into Brasswick's hand kind of for a second, but then I would snap to as everyone darts behind a tree, and I would probably try to sit in a bush.
Okay, great.
Could you be any louder? By the blood of the old one, why did I bring you with?
So everyone who's attempting to hide, give me stealth rolls.
Yeah, no, Dice is bringing up his staff and he's unsheathing this beautiful curved dagger, almost like the one. I don't know. It looks really cool. Like, I keep picturing the one Kano has in Mortal Kombat. Pulls it out, and he's not trying to hide whatsoever.
Yeah. So as I go to hide, and I'm holding Durgan by the chest, I kind of trip over him. So yeah. I rolled okay, but I want to trip over him because he's so clumsy.
So, Dice standing out in the open. Aerdon, you duck behind a tree and kind of blend in with the foliage. Brasswick actually does a fairly good job of getting low and out of the way. Durgan is just too jingly and clangy, and he makes a big ruckus as he kind of dives into a bush. And there's a few more moments of silence, and then you hear the telltale creak of a bow being drawn back. And you hear a voice directed at you, Dice, that says, "Drop the knife. Now."
Dice will glance at the dagger, and he will glance over towards where the voice came from. And he will let go of the knife, and the blade just directly into the ground, sticking into the forest floor. And he kind of holds the staff back and waits.
And you hear two more bows being drawn back, and you hear the voice say again, "Have your dwarven friends join us as well."
I like the idea of Dice saying, "Dwarven friends." I don't. And then all of a sudden he hears Durgan from the pollen just in the bush. Durgan, Brasswick, why don't you come out? Talk with our new friends.
Come and stand. Durgan would absolutely come and stand, and he might even actually step next to Dice, and then, since he's so short, stand in front of him and kind of cross his arms.
What about Brasswick? What are you doing?
Brasswick is going to follow suit, and he's just kind of going to keep looking over at Durgan and do the exact same thing, acting all proud.
And as you do this, you see stepping out into the path in front of you, Dice, is a tall, it almost, for a second you're like, oh, is that Aerdon? this tall elf with dark hair and a strange-looking eye that catches this green light. He steps out into the path, and you see it's not Aerdon, it's somebody older. And he's holding an arrow to his bow. He doesn't have it drawn back, but he's got it knocked, and you get the sense that he could bring it up and loose a couple of them before you close the distance to him. And he turns his head, and you see that his right eye appears to be made of some sort of stone. It kind of has this marbly texture to it, with a pupil sort of chiseled into it. And he looks at you with this eye, and he says, "What are you doing in the Shade Vale?"
At this point, I would step out and I would say, "Myrrh, it's okay. They're with me."
He arches a brow as he sees you, and he blinks. He looks at you with his stone eye, and he says, "Aerdon Swifthand." I don't believe it.
Yes.
How are you alive?
I would immediately, kind of take a knee, actually, and I would say, I place myself at your mercy. I fled. My company was killed, and I was chased by orcs, and I was chased out of the Vale, or at least I ran from the Vale.
Aerdon, give me a wisdom saving throw, please.
Okay. It's a 20.
His eye gleams, and you feel kind of a strange tickle on the inside of your skull, and you kind of shake it off as he peers at you with this stone eye, and he blinks a couple of times, and he says, "You are a deserter, but it is not for me to decide your fate, Aerdon Swifthand. That is Elmira's job. You and your friends, Matron Elmira Merrowblade, she rules Shade Vale." And he kind of takes note of your ears, Dice, and he says, "I would think an elf blood would know the name."
Dice, Dice is kind of looking at the ground to maintain this almost subservient posture. As soon as he references Dice's race, he will just kind of glare up, and this just small smidgen amount of frost just crawls up the side of Dice's eye and then disappears in this kind of glare, and then Dice will shake it off and excuse my manners.
And I would stand up at this time and say, "Yes, we must see Elmira. In fact, we have important business with her. We have knowledge of a great danger. I don't know if you've heard, but there is a rogue convoker, one known as the Corruptor, who is leading an army on Falhast. We have information that we must share with the elves of Shade Vale."
We have heard such rumors. If you have information that is valuable, then yes, she will hear you. You will stow your weapons. I will not presume to take them from you, but let it be known that if you draw steel in the realm of Shade Vale, you will fall to the ground before you can strike with it. Is that understood? And as he says this, almost to enunciate the point, 6 more elves step out kind of on either side, and you realize that you're completely surrounded by these Vale guards, and they all have arrows knocked to their bows, and they're not threatening, but they're just kind of standing there just kind of as like a, we're here, we got our eyes on you. Aerdon, I trust you'll keep your friends in line while they are in our lands.
Of course. I trust them completely, and you can trust me. I know I may not have proven that, but we'll behave.
His stone eye flashes again as he says this, and he says, "That remains to be seen, Aerdon Swifthand. Come, it's in a few hours to Shade Vale. We will escort you." And he begins walking.
On the way, Dice will kind of get close to Aerdon and say, I've wanted to go to Falhast for a while to see Holly because I love her. And there's a lot that I love in Falhast. Can you tell me exactly why you wanted to come back here?
If you want to see Holly again, the elves of Shade Vale are your best hope.
No, I know that. Tactically, strategically, I get it. But why would you, Aerdon Swifthand, want to be here? And he kind of looks at the elf leader that just basically held a bow to Dice's face and spoke to Aerdon like he was some sort of puppy being trained. And Durgan says, what?
Durgan would say, "Aye, spill the beans there, Swifty."
To tell you the truth, I never wanted to come back here. Up until a couple weeks ago, it's partially selfish. The burden of my lies were too much for me to carry. I love the elves of Shade Vale. I love this land, and I bend down and I scoop up some of the dirt as we're kind of walking, and this rich kind of muddy soil, and I squeeze it, and the moisture just drips out, and I had to come clean with it, with them. I couldn't lie anymore, and it just so happens we need the help.
Can't argue with that.
So you guys are walking through the forest. The elf that Aerdon called Mir is walking in the front. And there are a handful of elves on either side, and you can see them kind of moving through the brush like 15 feet to either side of you, kind of keeping their distance and protecting the flanks as you move through the woods, and also kind of keeping an eye on you. You feel their eyes kind of flick towards you, every few seconds, just making sure that you're maintaining the pace, walking straight, and not going for any sort of weapons or trying anything. As you're walking, Mir kind of calls back to you, Aerdon, and he says, "You'll find it much the same as before you left. Things move slow in the Vale."
It's good to be back.
He says, "However, things have become rather dire with the orcs. The Matron will tell you."
Of course.
And yes, the orcs of Skull Ridge, rumor has it they've unearthed some great prize from deep in the forest. Rumor has it they're planning to win the war. That remains to be seen.
Durgan spits. I don't have many dealings with orcs. From what I understand, they're just the bastard children of giants and cows anyway. Bring them to me.
I like this dwarf, Aerdon. You may have some use to him.
Yeah, he's all right.
So you guys walk
very high praise.
about as high a praise as you're going to get from Aerdon.
Yeah.
So you guys walk for a couple of hours, and eventually the forest thins out and opens up. And I'll go ahead and pull up a picture here as you enter the actual city of Shade Vale. There we go. And what you see before you is a huge thicket, and it's walled on all sides by these massive bones, and you realize as you're looking around that you are actually standing in a city-sized rib cage. You are inside the Primordial's rib cage, and this city is built within it. And you can see there are thousands of elves here, and they're all bustling back and forth, carrying food and goods. Some of them are on the backs of wolves, the preferred mount of the Shade Vale guards. And there are sort of buildings built within the trees and inside of the trees, suspended from the trees. And as you move through, you see that there are men and there are women and there are even elven children standing out, and all of them carry a weapon of some kind, whether it be a dagger or a bow. Even the smallest child is carrying a small knife. And you get the sense that everyone here in Shade Vale is expected to protect themselves. No one is allowed to let others protect them. Because the Shade Vale is such a dangerous place, you're expected, even from a young age, and elves age a lot slower than humans, to take up steel, or bone in this case, and serve the Vale. And at this point, we are going to go ahead and bring in our special guest star for tonight. So give me 1 second. As Mur is taking you through the city, he brings you to this large wooden structure, and he says, "The Hall of Bones, the throne of Matron Elmira Marrowblade." Everyone, please welcome Jenny, the rogue DM, who will be playing the role of Matron Elmira Marrowblade in a cameo appearance tonight. Jenny, Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem.
So cool.
Mir takes you into this building, and it doesn't strike you as a throne room as you enter. It's large. There are pillars, and as you enter, you just hear this kind of rattling, jangling sound, and you look up and you see that there are thousands of bones hanging from the ceiling and acting like wind chimes here. And so as the breeze of Shade Vale sort of blows through this building, all of the bones are sort of rattling together. And there's a table at the head of the room, and there are several elves seated around it. The one that you're most drawn to, you have to assume, is Elmira Marrowblade. She sits there, and her massive sword, is leaned up on the chair that she's sitting on. And Mur comes forward, and he says, "Matron, I found a group of outsiders on the outskirts of the Vale. Aerdon Swifthand was with them." And he sort of gestures to them and then comes to stand behind you.
Aerdon Swifthand. I recognize that name. Who is he?
Yes, Matron. He was a watcher. He was presumed
a watcher?
He was presumed dead, Matron, but he returns to us, and he kind of looks at Aerdon's scar, somewhat alive.
Oh, really?
According to him, he fled for some orcs.
I would step forward, but I wouldn't say anything yet.
Have his group seated and have wine brought to our guests.
Yes, Matron. And he kind of snaps his fingers, points to a few people. They bring out these really simple wooden chairs, nothing fancy about them. And he sets 4 chairs out and says, "Please be seated. The Matron is offering you wine." And pretty soon someone comes bustling out and hands you all kind of simple wooden cups and starts pouring this really kind of dark red wine into each glass.
And Durgan would sit next to Brasswick on purpose and lean in and say, "Drink it, pretend to like it, and not a single word."
Yeah, I'm with you, Durgan. By the way, you check out that woman's giant sword. Wow, that would rival most men where I'm from.
Aye, she's very strong, very beautiful. Make sure I don't drink too much of this, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know about beautiful. She's not dwarven. I like some junk in the trunk.
Mir comes to stand behind you, Matron, and he says, they have not had their weapons taken, but my men will keep an eye on them, Matron.
Good. Let them settle for a few minutes, and then I will speak to Aerdon.
Yes, Matron. And Mir kind of bustles off and begins assigning watchers to the doors, and both of you see that there are two watchers holding long swords sort of standing a little too close to the back of your chairs, just kind of almost like bouncer style, just kind of standing right behind you. And Mir again takes up his post behind the matron, and as a servant offers him wine, he declines it, and he begins scanning over you with his stone eye. And all of you kind of, as he looks at you, you feel this strange kind of almost like the hairs on the back of your neck kind of stand up as this stone eye with the pupil kind of etched into it is kind of looking over you, and he just slowly looks over at all of you and then resumes his post.
So after several minutes of you drinking your wine, Aerdon, you notice that the matron gets up and she heads over to face you opposite the table. And as you look up at her as you drink, in the quickest flash, she gestures her hand like this, and it smacks the wine away from your mouth, causing you to choke slightly.
Yeah, and I would kind of cough on my wine, and then I would immediately bow my head.
And as the
And
cup...
Dice would stand up. Dice would stand up immediately as if to defend his friend, and then realize that he's surrounded by elves, and he will slowly sit back down. But his face cannot be mistaken as anything other than fury.
Yeah, Brassic would have done the same. He would have stood up to show some solidarity with his friends.
I think with Durgan's experience in Stone Rift and having the two kings, especially Balrog, he would have understood what was going on and kind of tried to look at the others, not upset, but just knowingly, like, this is how royalty works. This is how it works when you make a mistake. Let this play out. This isn't our fight.
And I would immediately, try to motion, like whatever I had to do to get them not to stand up, but I keep my eyes down. I know my place.
And as the cup topples to the floor and rolls along for a bit, Aerdon, you are greeted with these very bright yellow eyes staring straight at you. And the matron simply says to you, Mir tells me, Aerdon Swifthand, that you deserted us. And now that I see you this close, I remember you.
Yes, matron, I have no excuse. But if you'll allow me to speak, I will tell you a story.
No, I will not like to speak. No stories. We were surrounded by orcs. There were so many, even I could not keep them away. We needed every single elf we could muster. And we train you. We train you well. You aren't simply herded off the streets. You watchers are handpicked. I put my hands on your shoulders, Aerdon, to create a bond of trust between you and I. And you broke it. You fled. You fled in the face of danger. You deserted us. And for that you shall pay.
Of course. And I would Yeah, I have no other words. I just say, of course.
And Mir kind of approaches, and he says, he kind of whispers, but you can hear what he's saying, Aerdon, and he says, Matron, Aerdon mentioned that he knows something about the Corruptor, the entity we've heard rumors about, the griffin flying through the trees. Aerdon says he knows much about him. Perhaps we should let him speak his piece.
Yes. In that case, I will let you speak, Adam, but we should do so in more private quarters, I think.
Very well.
Of course, Matron. Of course.
And Mir would kind of say, you all should sit and eat and enjoy the rest of your wine, and we shall speak again. The matron has decreed it.
And Dice looks at his wine in front of him, which is still completely full. Dice doesn't drink. And it's chilled, though. And he places his hand at the base of the glass, or the goblet, and he slides it over to Durgan without even looking at him.
Durgan would pick up the frosted glass and sort of drink it, and then he would drop it on purpose, as if to make some sort of a small commotion. And as he sort of leans in, he would whisper to Dice, "If they touch him, we riot."
And I look at Durgan, and my eyes don't change. Their intensity, but there is a smile that kind of creases across his face, and he nods.
And so then as he's kind of pulling his chair in, he would kind of look over to Brasswick, and he'd say, "If this goes south, make it like a dwarven food fight, if you know what I mean."
And you would notice that I am, Aerdon is trying to eat. I missed this food. I'm very hungry, but I'm shaking. You would notice my hands are definitely shaking.
Brassic would turn to Durgan and say, "You know we can't have a food fight here. That's disrespectful."
Durgan would kind of just put his hand over his eyes. Just like, oh. Like, he'll get the picture if it happens.
And Aerdon, you would definitely feel Mir's gaze on you pretty much the entire time, just kind of watching you from across the room, kind of with interest. And a couple of times you catch him, he's looking at you, and he almost has a little bit of a kind of a smile on his face as he's watching you. And it's not a friendly, comforting smile. He's a little happy that you have fallen into disfavor with the matron. And he would approach the matron as the meal is sort of wrapping up and say, would you like to speak to Aerdon in your chambers? Would you like to speak to the group as a whole?
I will speak to the group first, but then I think I should speak to Aerdon alone once we have discussed this Corruptor.
As you command, matron. And he moves over to the Provokers and he says, after you are done eating, the matron has requested your presence in her chambers. There you will tell us what you know of this Corruptor and what you are doing here in Shade Vale.
Aerdon would immediately stand up and, almost at attention, ready to follow.
And I'd stand up too, just because Aerdon did.
Durgan would kind of stand up and then grab whatever was left, maybe a grape or some sort of foliage, some sort of root, kind of just bite on it a little bit, and then take his helmet off and sort of, do this to his hair. Maybe straighten his beard a little bit, like a little spit on the thumb, and then like straighten the blue out. Right then.
Brasswick, noticing Durgan must have enjoyed the food, he tries to swallow his final bite and just forces it down with a quick follow-up of some wine, and quickly leaves his food alone. Very clear.
So Mir would see that you're all ready to go, and he would nod to the matron, and he'll say, "We will be in your chambers when you are ready, matron." And he will order a couple of watchers to kind of lead the Provokers to the room. And as the Provokers leave, he approaches you, Matron Elmira, and he says, "I believe that our Aerdon Swift Hand might be the same Aerdon that Troll Friend keeps mentioning. His son."
Are you sure?
I...
What proof do you have?
He kind of just taps his eye, and he says, "I am almost positive."
How is Troll Friend? Have you been speaking with him recently?
Well, I try to visit him from time to time. He worries about his daughter. I assure him that she is being taken care of. And he worries about his son, who I have assured him many times must be dead. But now, I think that maybe Aerdon Swifthand, maybe Aerdon Seroshant.
Well, this changes things.
Does it, though? We have his father, we have his sister. He would likely do anything for us to get them back. Don't you think?
What are you suggesting, Mir?
Well, Matron, I of course leave it up to your infinite wisdom, but we've heard rumors of this great prize that the orcs have won. Perhaps we send them to speak with the trolls in the boneyard, learn what they can about this great prize, secure our victory against the orcs, wipe them out once and for all. And while we're at it, maybe we just might lose a traitor or two.
You propose to send a traitor and his friends to the boneyard alone?
A risky move, of course, Matron, but one whose benefits outweigh the risks, in my opinion.
But what if they fail?
If they fail, well, then we have 4 less mouths to feed. And 1 fewer traitor in our midst.
Very well. Bring them in.
Of course, Matron. And he'll step outside the room, and he sees the Provokers waiting there, and he says, "The Matron will speak with you now. Please, enter."
Thank you. And I would step forward.
And he kind of catches you, Aerdon, and he's looking at you with his stone eye, and he says, "It's good to have you back, Aerdon Swifthand."
I doubt that.
And he lets you go. If you guys file in, he'll follow in after you and close the door and kind of take up a post next to the door. And I'm going to go ahead and let Jenny describe what Elmira's chambers would look like.
All right. Well, her chambers are, of course, very vast. Firstly, it isn't just simply a bedroom. There is a large corridor to begin with cloisters going all the way down, and these beautiful tapestries and designs all along the walls that show various matrons that have been succeeded by Elmira. And as you get further down, you reach these large double doors. However, there is a smaller door that the guards open for you, and they gesture you in to this more private room, which is, it has a very dark red color scheme to it, and yet it is not so overbearing because of all these beautiful candles that have been lit, and also there is a lovely fresh breeze coming in from the large stained glass windows. It is a very tranquil place for meditating.
Sorry, I was muted there. I was trying to talk. I would probably just be very wide-eyed and in awe of this place.
Elmira is seated on a fairly modest-looking chair, but it is still, for a matron, quite suitable. And there are also various cushions laid out on the floor. And as you come in, she gestures for you to sit.
And Durgan would not look her in the eyes, but he would hold his little helmet like a schoolboy might hold a hat and shuffle his feet, and he would sort of mumble and say, I would not presume to sit down in the presence of such a powerful and wise lady, my lady.
Your words are plain yet truthful, dwarf.
And if he got the vibe that it was okay, Durgan would continue to kind of just stand respectfully and kind of with his hands crossed, just really kind of taking it in. There's definitely an aura in this room that he's probably never sensed before, and he definitely respects it.
And Dice would try to not make eye contact with the lady. He goes over to a candle and just kind of experiments with how the cold of his hands just reacts to the flame. And he kind of looks at her in a way, there's no better way to describe it, reminiscent of Boromir and Galadriel, kind of like in Fellowship, just kind of looking at her hesitantly, waiting for whatever words that would be spoken, just speak them.
Firstly, I will have water brought to you.
And you guys see a pattern here where the matron wants something, and she tells Mir, and he gets it, makes it happen. So it's like there's this chain that is followed every time, where it's just orderly. Like matron wants something, Mir sees to it, he orders whoever is going to make it happen. And so Mir kind of opens the door, speaks a few words, and a few moments later, these two servants come in with a pitcher and start pouring cups of water for all of you.
And if you drink the water, it is probably the purest water you have ever tasted, even for Shade Vale's standards.
Well, and you'll see that on Dice's face when he sips it. It's just taken aback. It's perfect.
Durgan would be obliviously enjoying it, not giving much thought as to how fresh it is, but just thinking how nice it tastes, but not really thinking too hard about it.
Brasswick will be soaking in the chain of command and how it all works, just completely fascinated that so many people would just drop what they're doing and attend to somebody else's needs like that.
I know you have traveled far, and I applaud you for that. But there are precarious matters to see to. You say there is this Corruptor. I have seen a griffin near to here, but nothing more.
It is likely he is a being of great power and great evil. A former member of the Convokers who has gone rogue and now commands a terrible army. We have faced him.
I was going to say, you talk like you have seen him.
We have
Did you say you
indeed.
have faced him as well?
We
In
have
battle?
in battle. He alone. We spoke with him. It was not a pleasant experience.
Oh, don't be so modest, Aerdon. We kicked the crap out of him.
He fled before us, and since then we have encountered, slain one of his top generals and other contingents of his group of savage fighters. He commands ogres and giants and barbarians. I know that it is far too much to ask, but I ask it anyway. I will face whatever justice is due me. But I ask that first we deal with this threat. It is far out of the realm of my rank, what anyone owes me. I am owed nothing but death. I understand. But I care for the people of Shade Vale, and I don't want to see them destroyed by this being. I want to fight, and then I will face whatever justice is due me.
You say that now, but it is not as simple as that. Aerdon, you see, our top priority at the moment is the orcs. And unless there is proof that the Corruptor is working with the orcs, I am not yet interested in the threats this Corruptor is causing. We have enough to worry about as it is, especially when people like you don't take it seriously.
I bow my head once again. And just out of character, guys, we don't have any in-character knowledge of the Corruptor working with orcs, correct?
Beyond speculation, you have no concrete evidence.
Okay.
But you know that the Corruptor is either here or has been here recently because both Dagrim and Mir told you that a griffin has been spotted in Shade Vale. And griffins are not common creatures this far south, and so it's safe to assume that it was the Corruptor.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I would probably just say we have no proof. But if you have seen a griffin, who do you think this Corruptor could be here to see in the Shade Vale? I can't imagine an elf ever cooperating with his like. Who else could it be? I don't know. I'm just knowing what we know, asking you to consider it. And I
There
lower
are
my head
many.
once again.
There are many enemies in this primordial realm. He could be allied with anybody, for all we know.
It is true.
But as I said, the orcs are our priority. And in fact...
Wait. Freeze the meat for a second. Hold on. The orcs are your priority, Dice says.
You're actually talking in character. You're actually interrupting the matron in character.
Yes, he is. And he'll say, wait. There's this one entity that has the capability of taking over the world, and he's trying to do that specifically, and you're worried about some orcs. And then he slowly realizes he's totally spoken out of turn.
Yeah,
And
I almost have my...
Go ahead.
I almost have my head buried in my lap at this point.
I was going to say, if it was possible, if Durgan was looking at the floor, he is now looking through the floor.
And seeing that he's already gone too far, Dice will say, but really, I mean, the
Half-elf
orcs.
does not speak. You know nothing of this matter.
Bold words.
As Aerdon will tell you, the orcs are great in number, and their leaders are strong. I have felled many in my time, and yet they still come. One, in particular, you will have seen Mir's eye. He lost his eye due to an orc. And now this orc's son commands their army. We do not know when they will strike next, but I have a feeling it is soon. But I hear that the orcs have a prize of some description. They say will win the war. I do not like the sound of this prize. We need people to seek out information. And since you, Aerdon, and your interesting friends happened upon this place, they will not suspect anybody like you to enter their territory. You need to go and investigate in the boneyards. If we took an army, it would be far too noticeable. But you, there are only 4 of you. You will have the advantage of stealth.
And Mir kind of laughs from the door, just almost to himself, and if anyone looks at him, he says, "They were loud enough for us to hear a few dozen leagues away, Matron."
Brasswick pipes in real quick, and he said, "Yeah, Aerdon's not very fleet of foot, if you know what I'm saying." And I nudged Durgan.
2 bumbling dwarves are quieter than an army, Mir. Even one clad in elven armor.
Wise words, Matron.
I would dare speak and say, excuse me. I know that I have done wrong, and I will do whatever you command. I have placed myself completely at your mercy. But my friends here, allow them to go to Falhast. Here, and I would motion to Dice. This man, this half-elf, he has a daughter there. The Corruptor's armies march on Falhast. Let them go. I will do what you ask.
At that
And
point,
Dice is shaking his head.
At that point, you would see a different sort of confidence come over Durgan. He wouldn't become disrespectful, but he would address Aerdon, and he would look with confidence straight at him, and he would say, "No. We go together, or we don't go. We're in this now as brothers. Our blood has spilled. It's no longer dwarf, and it's no longer elf or half-elf. We bleed the blood of the only justice that walks this land, and that blood needs to stay together.
It appears as though I'm outnumbered.
Your dwarven friend is right, Aerdon. You would be very foolish to enter the boneyard alone.
Of course.
Do you know what resides in the boneyard, Aerdon Swifthand? And Aerdon, you think back to your childhood, and you know that the boneyard is home to the trolls of Shade Vale, the last of the trolls. You don't know how many there are there, but even if there's a dozen of them, the trolls are no beings to trifle with. And Mir looks at you and he says, "We've not had dealings with the trolls for a decade or more. But rumors has it that this great prize that the orcs have secured, rumor has it that they killed a troll, retrieving it."
So we are to get information from the trolls.
That's the idea.
I let out a deep breath and say, "As you command."
Well, I think it is decided. You will leave as soon as you can, but feel free to rest, of course. My men will provide you with quarters. And again, she gives a nod at Mir. However, Aerdon, I will speak with you in private for a moment.
Of course, Matron.
And Mir ushers the other three provokers and he says, "With me, gentlemen, I will see that you are well accommodated."
And as Dice is the last to leave, he'll kind of bow to the matron. And he'll say, "With respect, my lady, may I ask you a question?"
Go on.
Do you remember before you were born, when you were asked, "What is it you want to be?" And you decided, "I want to be an elf." An elf of the Shade Vale. And you decided that you wanted to be a high matron of the elves of the Shade Vale. Do you remember when you got to choose who you were before you ever existed?
I do not follow where you are going with this.
He kind of nods and he says, "Me neither." And he kind of touches his half-elf ears and walks out the door.
As you're walking, Mir says, "He's being sardonic, matron," and he kind of grabs Dice by the shoulder and says, "Come on."
And I'm ushered out.
Brasswick is grinning ear to ear this whole time as we are leaving the room. But nobody can see his face since his back is to everybody else.
And as Mir closes the door behind him, he looks at Dice and he says, "If you want to keep your head, you'll stay your tongue."
You know, I have worse things to lose than my head right now. But he continues walking.
And the room is left empty aside from the matron and Aerdon.
Milady, you wished to speak with me.
Indeed. And she looks straight at you again with those yellow eyes, not even blinking. And then the silence is broken and she says, "That half-elf friend of yours, he is very passionate about his beliefs."
That he is. He's a good one to have on your side.
And very caring for his daughter, no less.
Certainly.
Tell me, where are your family currently, Aerdon? You have not mentioned them yet. I would assume you'd want to see them before you left.
I came to the Shade Vale as a wandering orphan, a bastard. I lied. My father... I mustn't speak of my father. My name is not Aerdon Swifthand.
Indeed,
It is
it
Aerdon
isn't.
Saroshent.
Saroshent. Yes. Mir was right. You are who he says you are.
How did he know?
While he may have lost his sight partially, he still has his mind's eye.
Of course, I felt something. Of course. It is the reason I left. People, my brothers in arms, began asking questions. I felt they were getting too close to the truth. And I ran out of shame.
Just like your father got too close to the trolls.
The trolls? What are you talking about? He never told us anything. He just said he was exiled.
Not as simple as that. We discovered him to be liaising with the trolls, allied, you will, with the trolls. That is what caused him to suddenly leave Shade Vale.
I assure you, milady, I hate him all the more for this. I'm sorry.
But your sister, you don't hate her, do you?
No. Lara is... Where is she?
We are currently holding them
Them?
for your father's crimes.
She is innocent. Please, milady.
She may be innocent, but she is sick. We thought it would be best to keep her with her father, for now, until we decide what to do with him.
Of course.
But I have another proposition for you, Aerdon. If you manage to find the information we need about this orc prize, and if you come back here in one piece in order to tell me this information, then we will set them free. If you come back to me empty-handed, not only will you suffer the crimes of a treasoned watcher, but you will also suffer the crimes of a son of a troll friend. I hope we have an understanding.
I would take a swallow. You would see what looks like a plum just going down my throat. And almost breathlessly, I would say, I understand.
You will be able to see them before you leave, should you wish.
Of course. At least I wish to see my sister.
Well, then you shall. But it is late. You must need rest, I'm sure.
Yes, milady. Will that be all?
Yes, that will be all.
Thank you, milady. And I would bow my head and walk out.
Mir is waiting for you out in the hallway, Aerdon, and he eyes you curiously with his strange stone eye as you exit the room and close the door behind you, and he says, "Everything okay, Aerdon Swifthand?"
I would probably let my eye linger a little bit longer on his stone gaze, and quickly catch myself. Yes. Yes, of course, Commander.
Good. I've set your friends up in temporary quarters. I'm assuming you would like to bunk with them?
Yes, and if possible, I would like to see my sister. The matron said that would be possible before we left.
I will arrange it so that you may speak with her in the morning before you set out for the boneyard.
Thank you, Commander.
So then, you've revealed your true self to the matron. Aerdon
Yes.
Seroshant.
Yes, Commander.
He kind of gestures for you to follow him, and he walks you through the Hall of Bones out into the city proper, and you see that the elves are lighting the torches as the dying light of the day sort of fades away, and he says, "Tell me, Aerdon, did it ever grieve you to look upon the man who took your father's position as commander of the Watchers? To take orders from me knowing that your father once held my rank?"
To tell you the truth, no. I respect you, Commander. There is no respect for him.
As there shouldn't be. Your father is a traitor and a coward.
I
And he
agree
kinda-
completely.
He kind of stops outside of these, it almost looks like kind of this low sort of building, looks like some sort of bunker or something, and he stops outside the door and he turns to you, Aerdon, and he says, "Do you know why your father decided to return to Shade Vale?"
I have no idea.
Your sister came down with the same affliction that your mother did. Your father came back and begged for mercy. We have kept your sister alive, Aerdon.
I should never have left. I should never have left.
You left your father and your sister. You left the Watchers. Tell me, Aerdon Seroshant, when are you going to stop running away?
My running is done. The truth is out. Now I run toward danger. I will not run from it.
He turns, and in the flickering torchlight, all you can see is his stone eye. You can't see his good eye, and he says, "That remains to be seen. Sleep well, Aerdon Seroshant. We will speak again in the morning."
And I just wanted to say, before he leaves or the scene ends, there was something that I wanted Durgan to do. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just didn't want it to end.
No, absolutely. Yeah, the quarters he leaves Aerdon to, that's where you guys are. So Aerdon will enter the room, and you guys will be in there.
Perfect. And so what Durgan would want to do to Mir is just be so thankful that Mir somehow got him to see the lady, and he almost wants to just if you'll allow it, he kind of just hugs him, and I don't know what Mir would do.
If you approach him to hug him, he would as you hug him, you see he's got his sword halfway out of his scabbard, he went for his sword, and as you hug him, he's just and he kind of shoves you off, and he says,
"Well, and before he shoves me off, I'm just oh, and I'm acting all great, and I hug him, and when he takes his hand off his sword, I grab it, and I lean in, and I whisper, 'If you're double-crossing us, I will knock that stone eye out of your head, carve it into a figurine of you, and eat it.' And then he'll go, 'Oh!' and then kind of back off.
Oh my god.
And Mir kind of puts the sword back in his scabbard, and his gaze lingers on you, Durgan. And Durgan, I want you to make a wisdom saving throw for me, please.
Ooh, it's not very high.
What'd you get?
We're looking at a 10.
10?
And that's a modified 10.
Okay. So he's looking at you, and Durgan, you feel this tickle in your mind. And he's kind of looking at you, and he says, "Oh, you're from Stone Rift. I see now." He looks at the hammer, he looks at you, and he says, "I heard you lost a king recently."
Aye. And I found this hammer. And then Durgan would smile and wink, and he'd say, "If you know a thing or two about dwarves from Stone Rift," and he would kind of be weirdly jovial about it at this point, because if it doesn't happen, there's no big deal, but if it does happen, like it's on, and he'd say, "If you know a thing or two about a dwarf from Stone Rift, we always keep our promises." And then he kind of winks, very happily.
And Durgan would feel a hand rest on his shoulder, and on it would be kind of that familiar, dried, just thickened skin that has gone unwashed for many days, that of Dice's.
And he would go, "Oh, Dice, I was just telling my friend here where I'm from."
And Mir kind of turns, and he goes towards the door, and he looks at Aerdon one more time, and he says, "Wrangle your dwarves, Aerdon." And he kind of leaves the room and slams the door shut behind him.
I turn to Dice and I just look at him and I say, "Hey, you're one of us now."
And Aerdon would kind of look around seriously and just say, "It doesn't matter. I think we're all going to die."
Oh, that's just now crossed your mind, huh? And Dice just breaks into this laughter.
And I think Durgan would join him and just kind of go, "What's new these days?"
I would probably just go to a bed and lay down.
Aerdon, as he lays down. Dice will say, "If I were to die tomorrow, I would know that because of you," and he looks at Aerdon, then he looks at Brasswick, and he looks at Durgan, "because of all of you, that I would die having lived. No hard feelings."
I nod my head and I close my eyes.
And a thought just crosses Dice's mind, just a small thought. If this were a movie, it might be a small cutscene, and it would be of a wooden D20 rolling across the floor in a tavern in Stone Rift and landing on the 1. And that solemn face that he gives, he smiles again. It goes away and is replaced by something happier, something more temporary.
Does everyone bed down for the night?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay. You do so. And Aerdon, you wake first. And as you do so, the first thing you notice is that it's not daylight. It's still dark. And the second thing you notice is that there are screams and shouts emanating from outside.
I would immediately rouse my friends and say, "Get up! Get up! Do you hear that?" And I would run toward the door and just kind of poke my head out the door. Can I tell where this is coming from or what it sounds like?
Yeah, when you look out the door, you see that there are fires burning in several of the huts. Red, hot fires. And you see a few watchers sort of aiming their bows to the sky. And as you're looking outside, you see dark shapes flying overhead. And as they fly past, you see they're dropping something. And as these things hit the ground, they explode into this sort of red magical fire that just erupts like fire on oil.
Yeah, I would want to get my friends up right away and say, "Grab your weapons. I don't know what's happening here."
And Dice would wake up. And he'd wake up, dagger in his hand, staff in his other hand. He doesn't even remember picking them up. They were beside him when he went to sleep. And he looks at Aerdon and tries to clear away the sleep from his eyes.
Brasswick will, as he wakes up, kind of slaps himself in the face and like falls out of bed from the slap and starts scrambling around looking for everything, looking for his chainmail, trying to throw it on and puts it on backwards and screwing around trying to get everything on correctly.
Yeah, so I guess I would want to. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? What should we do?
Well, you could help me over here with my armor.
I would go over and kind of shake him around, smack him about. Come on.
Dice will move towards the hatch, the door, just to look out.
Yeah, and as you do so, you would hear a voice ringing clear and loud over the screams and shouts of the people of Shade Vale, and you would recognize the voice as that of the Matron. Jenny, you can go ahead and narrate what you would be doing in this time of crisis that has erupted here.
Okay, can they currently see what's happening as well at this point?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, you can see that they're. Well, as Matron, you would know that these are giant bats, and on the back of these bats are orcs of Skull Ridge, and they're currently dropping alchemist fire on the city as they fly over.
Okay, so currently she has got her huge bone falcon drawn, and with it she is getting the archers into position and saying to them, "Take the bats down! Take the bats down!"
And at your command, they knock arrows, draw back, and as the next trio of bats flies over, they let loose with a hail of arrows, and two of the bats come plummeting out of the sky. And as they do so, the orcs kind of tuck and roll off of the bats, draw axes, and are standing there in the center of town ready to fight anyone who engages them. And Aerdon and Dice and Brasswick, you all see these orcs kind of tumble and roll into the clearing.
Yeah, so I would probably rush out to lend my bow and to take aim at any, if there are any close enough. I would absolutely try to take it down a bat.
Yeah, well, we'll go for it. We'll do initiative order, and Aerdon, you're up first, and there is most definitely two orcs within range of your longbow.
All right. Yeah, then I'm going to, in quick succession, let loose two arrows here. And I rolled a a 16 and an 8.
16 and an 8.
Yep.
The 16 hits.
Okay. And so, yeah, my first arrow flies wide, but then I track it down better on the second one, and I loose an arrow for 5 damage.
5 damage, okay. Okay, 1 second, sorry. The orc that you hit, you see he only has one ear, and the orc beside him is wearing this red, sort of blood red sash, and you hit the one with one ear. The arrow strikes true and kind of hits him right in. You get right in between the seams of his armor, right in his armpit, and he kind of reels back and stumbles backward as an arrow comes from a direction he was not expecting. Good shot, Aerdon. Anything else you want to do movement-wise or bonus action-wise?
I would probably just try to move. I'm running toward them. Probably wanting to keep a distance of at least 50 feet, but if I'm not 50 feet, move closer.
So you're kind of moving towards them as you're loosing these arrows at them.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so that will actually bring us to Elmira's turn. You're going to go after Aerdon in the initiative.
All right. Okay, let's hope I get all these bonuses all remembered. Okay, so Elmira is going to seemingly quite casually march up to the first orc, and she waits for it to react first before cutting it down with 2 large flurries of her falchion. And since it doesn't react, she instead attacks it twice. And she gets, let's see, a 25 and a 20.
Both hit.
Okay. And, let's see, I need more d6s. So the first hit does 8 damage, and the second hit does 9 damage.
Okay, so 17 total.
Mm-hmm.
You drop the orc with 1 ear. Go ahead and describe the killing blow.
Okay, so as I said, she brings it across in a simple diagonal arc, twirls it round, and as she grabs the back of the neck of this orc, she skewers him with it like a shish kebab.
Awesome. So, Aerdon, you see that the matron has entered the fray and has just marched up, and the orc that you hit with the arrow in the armpit, she just finishes him off with the 2 quick strikes. And the orc with the red sash is kind of stumbling backwards as he sees that the matron has entered the fray. He's heard tales of Marrowblade and her sword, so he's not too keen on entering combat with her. So that was Elmira. So Dice, you're up.
Dice has a voice that's going in his head as he's standing at the door. It's saying, "Cook the meat, Dice. Cook it. Cook the meat." And he's back there inside the kitchen, the stronghold of Talmor that they were kind of based in just temporarily, and he was taking this apothecary's vial and pouring it upon this frozen meat that he had just frozen maybe a week before, and stinging it and cooking it through and through, and he was using the alchemist's fire, tools of the military trade. And he's hearing it, "Cook the meat, Dice, cook the meat." And he looks up and he sees this alchemist fire just blast upon the ground. And he sprints outward toward this railing that's kind of surrounding their quarters. And he jumps up, and with his left foot he steps on the railing and kicks off of it. And his staff just blasts this frozen energy out the end of it, kind of like a jet. And he flies upward toward whatever awaits him in the skies that's dropping this weapon.
Awesome. That is the coolest description of fly I think I've ever heard.
Awesome, thanks.
Good job, Dice. Okay, so Durgan, you're up next, buddy.
So Durgan would look around trying to identify the strongest looking warrior. Is there a particular warrior that looks especially dangerous?
Well, the only warrior on the ground right now, so there were 2 orcs that got shot off their bats. The first one got skewered by the matron. The second one is standing there, and he's got this red sash, and he's standing there with a battle axe. He looks large and strong, but you also see that there are bats kind of flying overhead, and it's hard to tell because of the darkness, but you can see that there are creatures on top of the bats you can assume to be orcs.
Okay. Durgan would take the fight in front of him. So I think that what you would see is he would unsheath Storm's Reach, and he would hold it, and you would hear him kind of mutter almost a guttural dwarven sound. And you would see not just electricity, but this other reddish golden light arc up the hammer. And you would see where it says Storm's Reach in Dwarven, that would flash, and then at the front of the hammer on the flattest part, you see a rune of Pursuit of Tritherion glow. and I am casting Branding Smite on my weapon.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to attack with Branding Smite, but I'm casting this, and I'm going to hurl the hammer at Red Sash, and just hope that it strikes right in the center of his face.
Got it.
Oh, nat 20.
Nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
So this attack deals an extra 2d6 radiant damage when it hits.
Yeah.
And if the target survives, it glows within a 5-foot radius and can't become invisible. And so I'll go ahead and roll this crazy amount of damage.
Yeah. So the normal. So I don't think the spell damage for the strike that you're doing will be doubled for the crit, but your base damage with your hammer will be doubled for the crit.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, cool.
So. $18 damage.
18 damage.
Yeah.
Elmira, you actually see the second orc. You're turning to face him to strike at him too, and his head just becomes a red mist, and you actually get splattered with a little bit of orc blood as this hammer just goes clean through the orc's head and like lands heavily on the ground on the other side of the orc, like 15 feet away from it.
Elmira turns and gives a quick nod.
Durgan blushes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's about as good as you're gonna get, buddy. All right, so that was Durgan. Brasswick, buddy, you are up.
All right. So I kind of see this display between this matron and Durgan, and I kind of grimace a little bit, just kind of ashamed of Durgan. But yeah, I'm going to run up and I want to shoot a guiding bolt at one of the bats that has a rider on it or something.
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. So I will show my shield for my symbol, and I will, no matter what, I'm missing something. So I rolled a 3.
Oh, damn. Yeah, your bolt streaks into the air, and as it does so, it illuminates the fact that there are probably about a dozen bats just kind of circling the place. And these bats have a wingspan of, I mean, it's got to be 10 or 12 feet, and they've got these orcs, and the orcs almost seem too big to be riding on the bats. Like the bats are kind of like struggling to fly. They've got these huge, 240-pound orcs on each of them, just like tossing these alchemist fire down on the city.
Aren't you a lucky guy?
Yeah, it's too late now, but I'll remember that next time. And I'm going to run up with Durgan. I want to stay near him.
Okay, cool. So you move towards Durgan. Cool. All right. Let's see here. So... All right. All right, Durgan. So, let's see here. As you're standing there, Durgan, and you've thrown your hammer, and you're kind of blushing over the fact that you actually got a little curt nod of approval from the matron. A bat kind of flies low, and you hear it kind of shriek as it flies low, and you actually see the orc's face as he just throws the alchemist fire right against your armor, and it bursts against the breastplate of your armor. And you take 10 fire damage as this just red-hot magical fire just splashes across you. And everybody immediately smells a smell that you've come to know a little too well, and that is burning beard. as Durgan's beard starts smoldering.
Hey, I can fix that!
And Dice and Aerdon, a couple of bats actually fly low to you as well, and Alchemist Fire gets tossed next to you, but you guys manage to kind of duck and dive out of the way as the flasks shatter and spill their red fire all over the place.
And can Dice maybe, I don't know, do something cool with his staff and like steam just blasts from the fire as it's kind of deflected from this icy defense?
Yeah, as you're kind of flying, it totally just kind of like steam just erupts behind you as you kind of put the fire out with your.
Awesome.
I picture like a broom that has just ice just kind of flying out the back of it.
Someone in the comments said I was Harry Potter, but with ice.
Yeah,
So,
dude, a little bit.
That's all that's in my brain.
Yeah.
And you guys hear, you hear kind of the flapping of the leathery wings of these bats. You actually hear heavy wing beats. And behind you, on the building that you were just sleeping in, a black griffin lands and grips the side of the building with its claws. And you see sitting on the griffin is the Corruptor. He's bedecked in his black armor, and the griffin rears up, and he has this gigantic sword wreathed in shadowy, inky black shadows. He rears up, and he has this sword, and he sees all of you, and he says, "You." Aerdon, it's your turn.
Oh man, how far away is he from us?
He's about 15 feet up.
Okay. Yeah, so I would probably at this point, I have just dived out of the way of this firebomb, and I rolled and immediately was back up on my knee with my bow, and now this new arrival is here, and I'm going to let loose. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to let loose 2 arrows once again.
Okay.
And I think I'm going for the griffin, actually.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, go for it.
And let's see if we can bring this guy down. But I'm also wondering, sorry, rules question here.
Yeah, go for it.
I have 2 attacks now, but I also have action surge. So I'm wondering, with my extra action, can I make another 2 attacks? I don't know if that's...
So your second attack, as long as it's not a bonus attack, which I don't think it is, I think it's just your action allows you to do 2 attacks.
Yeah.
So action surge would allow you to do 4 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so anyway, I just, this new surge of adrenaline is pumping through my veins. I take a deep breath, and I'm going into rapid fire mode here on this griffin.
Okay, do it to it.
And got a 17 and a 24, and then a 19 and a 22.
All 4 hit.
Okay.
Nice.
So we've got 5 damage and 10 damage, and then 7 damage and 5 damage.
How much total?
Okay, so sorry, I wasn't.
You did 5, 10, so 15.
Yep,
And then you did
7 and
22.
What was my last one?
12? Is that what you said? Or did you say 5?
I don't remember my last one. Give me a rewind. No, I'm kidding. Should I roll it again?
I think you said 5 because I thought 12, and I think that was your total for those 2 attacks.
Okay,
so
12 plus 15 is 27.
27. Damn, dude. So almost like impossibly fast. Like Aerdon just looses 4 arrows. Like it almost looks like he fires 2 at once as he fires these arrows off, and all 4 just sink into the flesh of the griffin, and the griffin kind of rears back as it gets hit by these arrows, and you see the Corruptor kind of struggling to regain control of his mount as you sink these arrows into its chest.
Awesome.
You definitely did some damage to it. It's hurting. Elmira.
Yes, I have a question actually.
Yes.
About the various other tricks I have up my sleeve.
Mhm.
I have various things I can do which allow me to inflict damage and then an automatic attack next turn with the same amount of damage.
Mhm.
Since I can attack twice, would I be able to use that automatic attack next turn in the same turn as my extra attack?
I don't know. What's the ability called that allows you to do the automatic attack?
I have two. I've got Witch Bolt and I've got Melf's Acid Arrow.
Oh, so I think the way that spells work, you can't use your extra attack in order to do another spell, but you'd be able to do it the next turn, as the spell says, but you can't do it on the same
fine.
turn. Yeah.
I think that's
Alright.
correct.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, in that case, Plan B, Elmira is going to let rip on this griffin with a lot of magic missiles.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that's how it's.
I'm gonna do one extra dart at second level, and each of them are 1d4 plus 1. So let's see, we've got 4, 6, 9, and okay, so 11 damage. You see how with her hand she gestures these 4 darts and throws them at this griffin, and they go smacking into it.
Yeah, and the magic energy it's almost blinding as it goes off, hitting this griffin, and for a second you can't even see that it's there, and when the magical light fades, you just see the front of the griffin, like its feathers are just charred from all this magical force hitting it. Awesome. Anything else you want to do on your turn, Elmira?
Yeah, I was going to ask, are there any more orcs on the ground?
There's no more orcs on the ground, but there are plenty of bats flying up above.
Okay. In that case... Okay, she's going to look for one that's flying higher than the others, because if it's flying higher, then it has more of a chance to drop onto different houses, whereas if it's lower down, it's got less of a target.
Right.
And she's going to find one of the higher bats, and she is going to, with her hand again, she's going to create a kind of a cup form in her hand and murmur something in Elvish before shooting a witch bolt straight at this bat.
Now, I don't think you can do 2 spells a turn.
Unless one's a cantrip.
Oh, unless one's a cantrip?
Mm-hmm.
Even if I
Which-
have, an extra attack.
I don't know. How does that work? Hang on, I need to laugh to hide the fact that I don't know the rules.
Whereas I have
Having a good time.
Our
should be
game is a
ashamed.
sham.
We're having fun, everybody. Stop.
Fake laughter.
So you can do another spell with your extra attack if it's a cantrip. Is that how it works, Juice?
Actually, you're right. Only if it was like a bonus action, I think.
Only if it was a
There's
bonus
weird
action.
stuff about that because of the Eldritch Knight.
Right.
I've seen it debated online.
Okay.
So I would say it's up to you on this one.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to make a call, and I'm going to say because it's badass, you can go ahead and do it.
I like it.
Yep.
Good, very good. Okay, so am I right in that I roll spell type bonus for my d20? right?
Yes, d20, and then you add your proficiency bonus and your spell attack modifier.
Oh yeah, of course. So quite a lot then. All right. Okay, that's a 25.
Yep. That definitely hits.
Okay. So it's currently doing 1d12, and then next turn it also does another d12 damage. So it's done 10 damage. So this thing's going to be charred by the time I finish with it.
Yeah, so you fire this witch bolt up into the air. It kind of streaks past these circling bats, and it just strikes a bat up high up above, and it actually goes right through its like wing membrane, and you see the wing kind of tuck up against the bat as it starts kind of spiraling in descent as it can't fly very good anymore. Awesome. All right, Dice, you're up, dude.
First, I just want to show this to the viewers. This is my player's handbook, and on the very first page, I don't know if you guys saw this, but it says, because it's badass, you can go ahead and do it. That's a rule in the player's handbook that I just penciled in, and now it's permanent. So that's how I play.
Page 1, man. Because it's badass, you can do it.
Yes, absolutely. Hands down. So, Dice feels these thickets and leaves just brushing up against him as he's flying up into the sky, and he emerges and sees kind of a cloud cover. And he turns toward this clearing, and he sees the Corruptor, and he's just hovering there, and he sees the Corruptor, and what does he see when he looks directly at the Corruptor?
What does he see?
Yeah, what does the Corruptor look like? Is he hurt? Is he?
He looks much like you saw him last time. His armor might be a little bit more tarnished, a little bit more dinged up. The biggest difference is that he is carrying this very, very strange-looking weapon. I'll actually pull up a picture of it really quick here, since you're looking at him.
Awesome.
And it looks like the design of it is not a design that has been seen for a long time. Like, it's almost like if someone in the Middle Ages would be carrying like a Roman gladius. Like, it just, you don't see that style of sword anymore. And it is just wreathed in these kind of inky black shadows. They're almost flame-like how they're flickering across the blade. And he's wielding it in one hand on the back of his griffin.
Okay, very cool. Dice is going to, kind of looking down, he's going to kind of glare up at the Corruptor and say, you. And then everything just falls silent for a second, and then you hear the shattering, crackling sound just boom throughout the sky like thunder without lightning. Dice has just cast Shatter without even knowing it. And basically, each creature in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on the point of the Corruptor must make a Constitution saving throw that is a DC 14.
Okay. They both make it with a 14 and a nat 20.
Okay, so that would be a total of 20 damage. You'd take half of it. That's 10 damage from the thunder damage of the Shatter spell.
Awesome.
Because I did cast the spell using a 3rd level spell slot instead of a 2nd, so he gets 1 extra d8. So.
Yeah, and you actually see, like, as this goes off, like a few more dents kind of go into his armor, almost at like the pressure of this sound wave hitting him, and the Griffin rears back again, just like can't even fathom all this damage that is being dealt to the Griffin, and the Corruptor again tries to steady him with the reins, holding the sword out.
And you hear the kind of the reverberation and delay. The you have me to deal with today.
And he just looks at you wordlessly. You feel the burning gaze from the dark hollows of his helm, Dice. All right, Durgan, my friend, you are up. You're muted, buddy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What Durgan is going to do, I'll tell you what I'm trying to do mechanics-wise first, and then you tell me if you'll allow this usage of the spell.
Okay.
I have a spell called Compelled Duel, and it's specifically a paladin spell which I compel a creature to fight me.
Mm-hmm.
It is divine. Now, I understand that I also don't have my hammer. I threw it. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to cast the spell. It is a range of 30 feet, so I don't know where I'm at. But the idea is I want to address the Corruptor and say something along the lines of, you! And he would just kind of wait, and I don't know if he would notice Durgan or not, but I feel like in a divine, almost deeper voice, like, you, like this would kind of come under it. And he would say, there have been many nights that have wanted to see your face. because I want to look into your eyes as I see the life leave them. And as he's saying this, I want to have him turn and walk towards his hammer and continue to speak almost disrespectfully, almost like I'm not afraid to turn my back on him. And as I get to my hammer and pick it up, I turn and I say, "You're a coward. Come and face me and die." And basically he has to make a DC save 15 or he has to do that.
What's the actual save? What does he have to roll for it?
Oh, sorry, it's wisdom.
Wisdom. DC 15?
DC 15, and if he fails, he's drawn to me, compelled by divine command.
Okay, he rolled a 9. He so I'm assuming on his turn he'll start moving towards you. Then he's been compelled to fight you now, Durgan.
Perfect. And for the duration, it lasts for as long as I'm concentrating, and don't attack anything else.
Okay.
So every time he attempts to leave my range, he can do that, but he has to make a wisdom save.
He's got to make a save. Okay.
Yes. He also has disadvantage on attack rolls. Or I'm sorry, I have disadvantage on attack rolls. No. He has disadvantage on attack rolls for anyone other than me.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
He can attack, but he has to do it at disadvantage.
Right. Okay, cool. So Durgan is drawing aggro from the Corruptor. That's awesome. Yeah, and he's looking at dice after this spell just went off, and as you do that, his head just kind of swivels, almost like robotically, like you hear kind of creaking from the armor as he looks to you, Durgan, and he doesn't even say anything, but he just kind of nods, like, "Yeah, I am gonna come kick your ass." Like he totally agrees that he should come fight you. God. All right, good job, Durgan. Brasswick, you're up, man.
Awesome. So Brasswick isn't sure what to do, and so he's been thinking about it in this course of 6 seconds since he missed his guiding bolt. He said, "Let's let the gods speak." And so he kind of yells, using that ring to amplify it, and he's yelling at the Corruptor to drop. And so you hear this loud drop start booming through the trees, and he basically is asking him to drop his weapon.
Okay, what's the save?
That'll be a DC 15, and it is a wisdom save.
He makes it with a 20.
That's no good. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, so you say drop, and he doesn't even like acknowledge you, Brasswick. Like he's dead set on Durgan at this point. Like he's just totally focused on him.
So I want to flank around, as his gaze is locked on Durgan.
Okay, yeah, you do so. You kind of move around to the side.
He's not on the Griffin anymore, is he?
He is, but it is his turn now.
Okay.
You see his armored boots, and Tim, I saw what you said. I wouldn't have put the Corruptor in front of you if I didn't want you to fight him. He kicks his heels into the side of the Griffin, and the Griffin, charred with arrows sticking out of it, takes flight. Just one beat of its wings, it takes to the air, and it flies low, like kind of just a few feet off the ground, and it flies towards you, Durgan. And just as it's about to hit you, it pitches and rolls out of the way, and the Corruptor comes flying off of the back of it with his sword, and he's flying at you with the sword.
Anybody else peeing their pants right now? Anybody, guys?
And as he's flying, he goes, and he's swinging at you with this massive black flame sword.
Black flame.
Black flame. Durgan, your AC
flame.
is still 17, or is it higher now because of the shield you're carrying?
I wouldn't have had the shield out because we were surprise attacked, so I'll say that the shield's still strapped to my back and it'd be a 17.
17? Okay, then he hits you, and he does 14 damage. 10 of which is slashing, 4 of which doesn't make you feel so good. It's this black flame that kind of flickers across the wound as he slices downwards, and the weight of him flying at you and slicing you kind of doesn't knock you prone, but it makes you stumble backwards, and you manage to keep your footing. But I mean, this guy weighs a lot, and he just kind of like lineman tackled you with a sword. And as he does so, he hits the ground, rolls, and comes up out of the roll, and he's holding this black sword with one hand, and with the other hand he closes his hand, and as he does so, another blade appears, and it's his old sword that he fought you with the first time, and he kind of crosses both swords over each other and goes into a defensive stance to fight you, Durgan. Let's see, the bats.
Not the bees! Not the bats!
Where's my other D20? All right, Brasswick and Aerdon.
Sorry, guys. Damn.
Brasswick, you take 10 fire damage as an acid flask drops right next to you, and the flames kind of lick upwards across your armor and scorch your beard a bit.
Oh, no.
And Aerdon, you take 6 fire damage as you just barely kind of lunge out of the way, and the fire kind of burns your leg a little bit. All right. Aerdon, you're up, my friend.
All right. At this time, I am going to loose 2 arrows, and I am actually going to try to go for the Corruptor's. Might be a long shot, but I want to go for his wrists. I want to try to disarm him. I want to try to force him to
So what I'll say with that, since you're trying to aim for a very specific spot, you're going to be rolling at disadvantage.
Okay. Now I also have, sorry, but this is one of the maneuvers that I have.
Oh, right, you can disarm. Yep,
So,
sorry, I keep forgetting that. Go for it.
No, that's fine. So it says I add my superiority die to the attack's damage roll, and the target must make a strength saving throw.
Okay.
So when I hit a creature with a weapon attack, I can expend 1 superiority die to attempt to disarm the target. Okay, so I am going to, I guess, have to pick one of my attacks, and I'll just pick the first one, which will be my purple here. And with that one, I get a 21 to hit.
21 just barely hits him.
All right. Oh man. And then my damage. Okay, so how does this work? When you do so, choose a. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I keep forgetting that you went Battle Master as your.
Well, I didn't.
Archetype.
I took the feat. I'm actually a champion, but I took the feat that gives me 2 maneuvers. Yeah.
That's right.
If I can interject, I would like to say.
I'm having so much fun, guys.
Thank you. I'm having a blast as I look up this rule. All right. So.
Hey, you guys want me to tell some jokes? Come on.
Yeah, I just don't know what the saving throw has to be, I guess.
I'm gonna say the saving throw is your attack, maybe? Like your attack.
Attack. So I got 21 plus my damage die. Oh, I rolled an 8. So that's a 29, I guess?
He's not gonna be able to meet that DC, so.
Okay. And so I guess I don't get to do damage. I just get to.
You just get to disarm him. Okay.
Yes.
Which wrist were you aiming at?
The one with the first sword in it.
Okay.
The one he attacked Durgan with.
Yeah. So the arrow flies and actually sinks into his wrist, and you see his hand open up, and this black flame sword drops from his hand and sticks into the ground. And as soon as he drops it, the black flame flickers out. And so it still looks like a badass sword, but it's not wreathed in this inky shadows anymore.
Yeah, cool. And then my second attack, I rolled an 18.
An 18. 18 does not hit.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Aerdon? You want to move or?
I am actually going to just drop my bow and pull out my sword and begin strapping my shield.
Okay, you got it. All right. Elmira, you're up.
Indeed. So first of all, I'll take care of that bat with that D12.
Yes.
Although I rolled a 1.
1 damage? Okay.
Yep. Wow. Okay. And I'm going to look behind me and notice that everyone else has currently got an eye on the Corruptor and that he is now off his griffin. And I turn to the archers again and say, fire at will. And just basically keep telling them to keep firing if they've stopped. Keep
Awesome.
firing at these effing bats. And then I do my stride over towards where the Provokers are with the Corruptor. And I shout at the Corruptor, let the man fight me who dares to destroy my people.
Ooh.
And he's totally focused on Durgan, but as you say this, you see his head kind of swivel and look at you, and he just kind of meets your gaze through the dark hollows of his helmet. Do you want to attack him?
No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast Blade Ward on myself
Okay.
and wait for him to make his move.
Okay, you got it. Yeah, on his turn, he will attempt to make the save to get away from Durgan to face you. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, that was Elmira. Dice, you're up. You were flying in the air, my friend.
I was, and I saw the Corruptor kind of do kind of a dive bomb toward Durgan and jump off, and I would chase after him without any question. But I would actually use my turn to summon, as I'm flying, summon a spell, a storm of sleet. It's called Sleet Storm.
Okay.
It's on page 276. Anyway, and the reason is because, it does some. It makes the ground like slick like ice, and you have dexterity saving throws and whatnot. But all in all, it does this kind of secondary thing, which is exposed flames in the area are doused, and my goal is to douse all the flames in my path in Shade Vale, in the city, just to protect the people. And so as I'm flying, the storm will just kind of swirl around me and kind of splash upon the ground, and these flames will just douse themselves.
Awesome. That's great, dude.
Awesome.
Right on. Okay, anything else in your turn?
That's it.
Alrighty. Durgan.
Okay, so I'm trying to think in character what I would do, so I'm torn and I'm going to roll for it.
Okay, do it.
Okay. So what Durgan is going to do is he's going to attempt to grab the sword into the dirt.
You're going to attempt to grab the sword?
If he dropped the sword,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to attempt to grab it.
Okay, cool. Give me a Constitution save, please.
Oh.
Okay, hold on.
You did the thing.
I'm a very lucky dwarf, so I'm going to do that again. Oh, man. It's an 8. No, sorry, 9. I get a +1.
Oh, well then. So, Durgan, you reach out and you try to grab the hilt of this great sword that is stuck into the ground, and as you do so, the black flame races up your arm, and you feel just white hot, just this weird, it's hot and cold at the same time, and it makes your arm feel numb. It's almost like, it feels like a shock almost with this combined with the heat of the fire, and you yank your hand back and you take 9 damage from this as it races up your arm after you attempt to grab the blade.
That's it. Oh, merciful DM.
I rolled 2d10 and I got a 6 and a 3, buddy. So.
I'm just kidding.
Amen. Pipe down, Brasswick.
You're
Hey,
right.
it's hurting you, not me.
I was torn between wedging it in the ground deeper with my hammer and picking it up, and I was like, which one would he do? Which one would he do? And I rolled for it, and pick it up it was. So you said 10 total?
Yeah. 9 total. 9 total.
Oh. Well then. So would that count? See, I get 2 attacks. Would that be a move? Would that be one of the attacks?
Yeah. Well, I will say that trying to pick up a weapon could be your move. So you can have your attacks, but you can't move this turn basically.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
So then, if the Corruptor is near enough to me, then what I would do is I would reach out. And I imagine the air kind of goes still, and the fog of combat becomes kind of dull, and it's just the sound of clanking, and I see blood splattering, and I see the Matron, and everything kind of slows down, and I just see the sword, and it almost whispers, "Take me." And so I don't know if that's me or if it's a sword or whatever, but I just know that I need to take the sword because it's important. And so I reach down, and as my hands hit it, it's almost like it bites me. And it's like the fangs of this evil sword tear through my hands. And as I pull back, and I feel it surge all the way up through and into my neck and in my teeth and in the back, I just take and I remember my place. And I understand that I need to swing this hammer as hard and as fast as I can. So I'm going to do my double attack. And I say, "For Stormhammer and for Stone Rift." And I'm going to try to hit this ungodly hard-to-hit creature.
Go for it, man.
Okay. 19 doesn't do it, right?
19 doesn't do it.
Okay. So, meta game here. I do have inspiration. I do have a lot of tools in my tool belt. I don't want to seem like I'm being min-maxy.
Mm-hmm.
So, you tell me, would you let me use, like, inspiration, that kind of thing, or is that not something... Because I already knew his armor class meta game because something else missed, so I don't want to feel like I'm cheating.
No, so
Too late,
you
Tim.
can use inspiration at any time after you roll, but before I tell you if you hit or missed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I will go ahead and do that.
Do it to it.
22.
22 hits.
Yes. All right, I'm going to see if the other one hits first before I roll all that damage.
Yeah, go for it.
No. The second one was a modified 5.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and do the damage here. Lightning damage. 15 damage.
15 damage. Okay. What does that look like?
So I would imagine that in this darkness, as the alchemist's fire lights everything, as an orange flame is dancing around us, when I strike, and I'm actually going to roleplay the inspiration. I go to swing, and as I do so, I'm quickened, and I remember our first fight. And I remember how he fought, and I remember how he blocked me and how he dodged. So instead of swinging the way I would, I actually go underhanded, and I hit him in the belly. And I imagine that as the hammer strikes his black armor, it creates this spark, just this kind of in the darkness, and it kind of tarnishes his plate a little more in that area.
Awesome. Yeah.
Can I jump in really quick? As this happens, the Corruptor hears exactly what Durgan heard. Take me.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, Barker, you have the best like evil artifact voice.
It's so true. Are you an evil artifact?
I think Parker might be an evil artifact, yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. So that was Durgan. Brasswick.
Seeing this, I yelled, "Oh, that's a belly buster!" And then, much like what my friends have already seen before in an elevator, I yell to Ilmater and summon a vortex that comes down through the trees. And as it gets closer, everyone can see the angels start swarming around me again. So as I do this, though, I want to move closer to the Corruptor, and I want to use I don't know if I can do this, but I want to use my inspiration to give him disadvantage. Can I do that on saving throws? Or is it just advantage for myself?
Just advantage for yourself, yeah.
Okay, never mind that then. Yeah, so then I just want to summon it, and he will have to make a wisdom save of 15.
15, okay. He fails with a 14.
All right. So he's going to take 3d8 damage.
Damn, son.
14 points of damage. So these angels start swarming around him, and they're just like hacking at him, like individually, just bam, 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 for 14 points of damage.
Awesome. And for my clarification, these angels, can they be attacked?
No, it's a concentration spell.
Okay,
so
cool.
They basically just swarm around me.
So he would have to break your concentration to get rid of them.
Yes.
Okay.
If
cool.
he wants to attack them, he can.
Yeah. I'm just trying to metagame a little bit, trying to figure out what I can do here. So.
And Matt, for a rules clarification on the compelled duel spell,
yeah,
it actually ends immediately if anyone else damages him, and so he's no longer compelled to only duel me.
Cool.
His speed is halved, by the way. Also.
Oh, from the Guardians?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Elmira, would you say that you moved to within 15 feet of the Corruptor when you were challenging him?
Yes. She wants to engage them in melee.
Yeah, so he sees you, and he seems to recognize you because he turns and he starts walking away from Durgan towards you. And Durgan, this provokes an opportunity attack, so you can go ahead and take attack against him as I describe this. But he yanks the sword out of the ground as he moves, and so he has both swords again, and he's stalking towards you, and he goes, and he says, "Matron, your city will burn with the rest of the western Southlands, and there is nothing that you can do to stop it." And Durgan takes a swing at him as he walks away with an 8 on a miss, and he's going to swing at you, Matron.
Do your worst.
All right. What's your AC?
Let me just have a little look. It is 17.
Okay.
Although I currently have Blade Ward.
Yes,
Thank
you have damage resistance. That's right. So whatever damage he does to you here, you're going to have it, except for the fire damage on his sword will not be halved.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Where is my dice? Why can't... Well, did I lose all my d10s? Where are they? Oh, here's one. Okay. So he comes at you and he swings once with a great sword. You dive out of the way. He comes across with his long sword. You deflect it, and he brings the great sword back up and catches you right through the armor for 14 damage. So you're only going to take 5 slashing damage plus 4 fire damage, so 9 total.
Okay.
From your Blade Ward resistance. So as he's slicing through your armor, that magic kind of keeps the blade from cutting too deep. He meets a little bit of resistance. Let's see here. Okay, that's all he can do. He took his 3 attacks. All right. The bat that you hit with the witch bolt earlier, Matron, the bat is kind of spiraling down and hits the ground, just crumbles on the ground, and a large orc stands up from the bat and has his battle axe, and he's looking for someone to fight. And conveniently, it lands right next to Aerdon, and this orc gets up and charges towards you, Aerdon, with his battle axe and is going to swing at you. But he's a little disoriented from flying, and you easily bring up your shield that you've just strapped to your arm and knock the axe aside as he runs towards you. And no one gets hit with Alchemist Fire as more kind of rains down. And as these Alchemist Fire go off, a couple of them land in the vicinity of Dice's Sleet Storm, and they kind of like erupt and then just kind of go out into steam. So good job with that, Dice. All right, we're back around to Aerdon.
All right, I am going to turn to this orc that has just attacked me. As I bat away his attack with my shield, I'm going to swing at him twice with my longsword. And that will be a 16 and a 24.
Both hit.
All right, awesome. Got 5 damage, 10 damage.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and describe the hit to me?
Yeah, so I slash at him, and I go for his arm first, and then I slash back and go for his side and bite into his side with my sword.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else you want to do in your turn, Aerdon?
Nope, that's it.
Alrighty. Elmira, the Corruptor is engaged with you in combat. What would you like to do?
Alright, so Elmira, obviously, she's keen to fight him, but does not want to keep him going enough for him to batter her to death. So she's going to try and strategize where to hit him in particular. So what she's going to do first is, after that that strike of the burning sword through her, as she leans back, she then comes back in with a strike in an arc like this in order to catch him across there.
Okay.
And I'll roll my 2 attacks with my Mahusive sword. Oh, and I'm rolling good today. Okay, so I've got a 24 and a 26.
Both hit.
Okay. D6s, D6s. Let me just double check. It's +1, isn't it, with the damage? Yeah. So 7 and okay. So I give him 16 slashing damage.
Right across the helm. Okay. So 1 second. So, as the Matron and the Corruptor close in combat and begin slashing at each other with these just massive swords, you see the Corruptor get his hit in, they parry a little bit, and then Elmira gets the slash across the helm. And as she does so, you guys see the Corruptor's helmet fly off. And there's just this stillness as the helmet flies off. And this is what you guys see.
Oh my god. Oh jeez.
And it's Dice.
What's the plot point? Oh.
Is it a human or an elf?
I think it looks like an elf.
That looks like an elf.
It's actually a human man.
Oh, okay, there we go.
And he looks fairly normal. He's a little gaunt-faced, a little pale. His hair is a little ratty and matted, but he otherwise looks human. But his eyes are blood red. and the pupils seem too large. And as he brings his head up and blood trickles into his eyes from this cut that you've dealt him, he looks at you, Elmira, and he says, "You will die for that. You will all die for that."
Wow.
Anything else you want to do in turn, Elmira, aside from unmask the Corruptor?
Red lyrium.
Yeah, would I be able to do a cantrip?
Unless you have a thing that allows you to do a cantrip as a bonus action, then no.
Well, hold on.
What can you do in a bonus action?
In my player's handbook, it says because if it's badass, you can go ahead and do it. So.
Well, then I want to fly away on a jetpack, man. Okay. So a bonus action, you only get a bonus action if you have something that allows you to take a bonus action, if that makes sense. So unless it says you can do a cantrip as a bonus action, then you can't.
And some spells are specifically bonus.
Yes, some spells are bonus actions. They'll say a bonus action on there, like Divine Favor for the Paladin is a bonus action spell, but.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you can move if you want to, but you've used your attacks against him.
All right. Yeah. In that case, yeah, I'll move back a little while keeping my guard up.
Okay. And he's normally he would take an opportunity attack against you, but as you back up, he's still kind of getting his footing as his blood is kind of running down his face as you've knocked his helmet off, and so he doesn't swing at you. He kind of takes a moment to catch his bearing. Okay, Dice, you're up. So you just saw the helmet fly off. It kind of flies off and clatters to the ground a few feet away from the Corruptor, and he's just kind of standing there with his like kind of lank, it almost looks like gray hair, like he's gone prematurely gray, is just kind of hanging in front of his face.
Dice has felt a lot of emotions over the past week or two, and but he never expected to feel pity for something so normal, so regular, for a human with normal hair and normal eyes. But they're intoxicated as if they're on some sort of drug. And he is flying with his staff backwards, and he lifts it up and he points it forward toward the Corruptor, and he fires off 5 missiles of icicles just blasting the Corruptor in the chest. And that is a total of 5d4 damage. From each missile. The reason it's 5d4 instead of 3d4 is because he's casting it as a level 3 spell instead of a level 1.
Oh, okay,
so,
perfect.
And that's +1, so that's 4, 8, 10, 14, and one more is 15 total. Wait, what was the last number I said?
8.
Yep, okay. 13 total damage, I believe.
Okay.
That works. And all these icicles just crack into his chest, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so these magic missiles slam into him. He staggers forward a little bit, catching his weight on the hilt of his sword, and he's standing there, and he kind of sweeps his gaze across all of you, and he sees that the fires have gone out, and he sees Matron Elmira backing up, taking a defensive stance, and he looks over and he sees his helmet sitting in the grass, and he whistles, and out of the sky his griffin comes and lands beside him. And he takes the reins of his griffin, and he looks at all of you with his eyes. The first time you've seen his eyes. And he says, "You are becoming most troublesome." He mounts the griffin. "We will meet again. Mark my words." and the griffin beats its wings and takes flight. And you hear him shouting orders to the orcs on bats. He says, "Fall back! Ivor Blackbone will not take Shade Vale this night." And you see the griffin disappear into the darkness.
Durgan would slowly walk towards the helmet of the Provoker. No, the rogue Convoker, the Corruptor. And he would kneel down, and he would take the giant's coin from around his neck. You would see him take and place it on the helmet. And this time he doesn't just tap it. He swings back, and and you see lightning kind of surge like as he puts Blood Mountain's mark into this helm. And then he takes it as best he can and basically shoves it on the back of his hammer so that it bears the Blood Mountain's mark and is affixed to his hammer. And he crumbles it around his hammer with his fists, and he says to himself, "The next time this touches his head, it will be because I put it there with my hammer."
Aerdon, so there is still an orc on the ground beside you, and hearing the order to flee, he kind of looks to the sky, looks at the bat that he rode in on that is clearly dead, and just kind of takes up a defensive stance with his axe, and will swing at you here. You easily deflect it, though.
All right. And yeah, so I batted away with my shield once again. And is it my turn now?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and let you go.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to swing back at him once again. 2 attacks. Not as good this time. I got an 11 and a 14. No, I'm sorry, not an 11 and 14. I got a 9 and a 12.
Well, this orc is scrappier than you think. He knocks both attacks aside with his axe and is still standing. Dice, do you want to do anything with this orc?
He would fly into him.
Awesome.
I mean, just literally just bam directly into him like a missile, a human missile, or a half-elf missile rather.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you want me to do for that?
Go ahead and give me just a strength check. Also, the hangout is being really weird, and for some reason it's not blowing people up in the big screen for me when they're talking.
Is it because you clicked on yourself?
No, I'm not clicked on anybody, so I don't know if it's being weird for anyone who's watching. I'm sorry, I'm not really sure why it's doing that, but yeah, go ahead and add athletics to that, Barker.
Okay, cool. Good for me, by the way. The hangout.
Okay, so it might just be me. I don't know.
I'm
it's
gonna
fine as well.
use.
Okay, cool.
Wait, I have 1 inspiration. I'm gonna use it
Go for it.
to collide into this creature, this orc. I got a 14.
14. Okay, that beats him. He rolled a 12 on his opposed check, so you knock him prone.
And I'll fall onto him. And we kind of like scrape upon the ground, kind of the mud and the plants and the plant life just and like we'll stop at the base of this tree.
Awesome.
Pow, pow, just punching him. Okay.
So sorry, I skipped Elmira. Elmira, do you want to do anything as the Corruptor flees and Dice tackles this orc to the ground?
After I have stared him down, as it were, I get a small cloth out of my pocket and I start cleaning the Corruptor's blood even off my huge black falchion. And I turn to Dice and Aerdon, who are currently trying to beat the hell out of this little measly orc, and say, "There are more pressing things to worry about, and you must leave at dawn. This is a warning." and he will be back.
And Dice, whose fist is in the air, kind of looks at the matron and looks back at the orc and just BAM! Hits him one more time, right through the teeth. Through the teeth.
Right in the kisser.
Yeah, right in the kisser.
Yeah, you knock some teeth loose and split a couple knuckles in the process. And you see that, like, kind of behind you guys, a bunch of bats are kind of on the ground, kind of trying to get up, and there's a couple of injured orcs, and the watchers are just moving through the crowd and just slitting orc throats as they move. And you see that Mir is with them. You see that the light of the fires kind of catch his stone eye, and there's sweat and blood kind of streaming down his face, and he's approaching you, Matron, and as he does so, there's an orc that kind of gets up and is like, and he just kind of runs him through with his sword and takes the blade out of him and kind of pushes him over, almost like just an annoyance as he's walking towards you, and he says, "The orcs have all fled, Matron. We felled many, but roughly a dozen watchers were killed as well."
Have them buried.
Of course.
But we must use this retreat to our advantage. We have to get Aerdon and his party out very soon.
Retreat, retreat, retreat. What? We could catch him. Why are you retreating?
How would you propose we catch a man on the back of a griffin?
I don't know. And Dice will kind of hover above the ground and say, "I'll get him! I can get him."
Peace, Dice. We'll have our chance.
And he looks at Aerdon and just like this. "Don't you know what we've already been through? Look." And this tear rolls down his face and just freezes to it. And he kind of lowers himself down to the ground. And not on purpose, falls down to one knee.
As you're doing this, Dice, Mir kind of turns away from you, shaking his head, and he looks at you, Almira, and he says, "Matron, you're injured. We should take you back to the Hall of Bones, have that patched up. We may need to be in fighting shape again very soon."
All right. Make sure these lot get some sleep. I want them out of here by dawn.
I'll see to it, Matron. And Jenny, why don't you, if you have any parting words as Matron Elmira, as your last scene in your cameo here, you can do so.
Okay, Elmira first turns to Dice, who has, as you say, involuntarily almost knelt on the ground. And even though she's still carrying this huge falchion, with her free hand, she gently takes you by the chin and lifts up your head and says to you, "Your time will come, half-elf, but it is not now. And I will not have him taking any more of my people."
When you say "my people," and the connotation is that Dice is now among them, only the most perceptive of people would be able to see the smirk, the smile, kind of cross his face. And he stands up, almost like you're lifting him with your hand on his chin.
You, as warriors, impress me, all of you. You are much stronger than I had recently come to believe. Even Aerdon, you still have it in you, that watcher's ferocity. I know that one day you will face him and that he will fall. You have my word on that.
Thank you. We will We will do our part. And I look around at these guys. I say, and I will do my best to make amends for the wrong I've done. And then I will face justice.
Mir says, "Very well. Come, Matron, we should patch you up quickly."
Yes, all right, Mir. All right.
And he kind of puts a hand on the matron's back, and you all are kind of like, huh? And he's kind of like leading her away, and is like standing a little bit too close to her as he's putting his hand on her back, almost like he's concerned in more than a like subject role. And he starts leading her away. And I would just like to do a big round of applause to Jenny for
Oh my God.
doing an awesome cameo as Matron Elmira. That was just awesome. Better than I could have anticipated. So thank you so much for joining us for tonight's session, Jenny.
No problem. If you don't
It's
mind, I'm
awesome.
going to get some sleep.
Yes, please do.
What time is it where you are right now?
It is 20 to 4 in the morning.
Oh, good God.
That's
Oh my
closer
God.
to when I get up than when I go to bed. So I have
didn't-
mad respect for you right now.
I
what a
didn't
trooper.
know there were 2 4 o'clocks.
Skip that. Wow.
Thank you again, Jenny, and we might have to have you on it again at some point. I think that would be great.
Oh,
That would be awesome.
That was
all
awesome.
right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. See you guys.
See you
Good luck
later.
with your game.
Bye, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.
All right,
You have
and
to
boys,
buy her a lot of coffee, Matt.
yeah, I know. We're gonna take a quick break, guys, and then
Cool.
we have a few other things I wanna get done this session if everyone's good for a little bit longer. So
Yeah, for sure.
awesome. Okay, cool. So let's take
2-3 minute break.
a quick 2-3 minute break, use a bathroom and all that, and we'll be right back.
Cool.
The Provokers are proudly brought to you by the Tabletop RPG One Shot Group. Get on over there and join today.
That is awesome.
Had to do it. We're like 18 away from 2,000 members, I think. So, be right back, guys.
It was the voice. The voice did it. That's why nobody's upset, Juice. I know you're gone, but maybe someday you'll watch this and you'll know that I said it. Way to go, buddy.
All right. I'm gonna look at some of the comments.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, how many viewers do we have? I got my DM screen, so I haven't been able to look. 114, not bad.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yeah, everyone's commenting. Yeah, Jenny did a great job. I really appreciate her doing a cameo.
Oh, man.
So.
Yep, that was awesome. I I think I was, shaking in my boots a little more than I would have been if it were you. No offense to you, but it's just like there's
totally,
someone
dude.
unknown that's like
man, yeah, and she played it just
ice cold.
Honestly, like, I didn't tell her that much. Like, I gave her the basics of what was happening, and Nate, you and I were kind of talking about Aerdon stuff this week, and so I kind of filled her in on a little bit of it. And basically what I left her with was, like, these are the three, like, main things that she would probably want to focus on or accomplish, and everything else was just totally improv. So she just took it and ran with it and did an amazing job and totally embodied the character of Elmira like I would not have been able to.
That was awesome.
That was great. Yep, she was ice cold, like when she smacked the wine out of my hand.
Oh yeah, I know. She told me she was going to do that. She was like, so I'm thinking I'm going to offer them wine and then smack it out of Aerdon's hand, and I was like, girl, get it, do it. You need to do that.
Even if I could have snapped something back, like there was no way I could do that with her. Like, oh man.
Yeah. So the Savior, the One, said, "Why does the bad guy always have to be attractive?" Okay. What did you guys think the Corruptor looked like under his helmet?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I thought it looked like dice from the future.
I know all the people with the dice from the future theories just went, "Oh man,
I'm done with this fucking show." No.
If it's not dice from the future or Aerdon's dad, I don't want it.
You know what? I was kind of thinking you were gonna do like a Metroid thing, and it was gonna be a girl.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah. But very cool. I was cool with it.
Yeah, I was just picturing like, I don't know, like I didn't have anything in mind, but now that you mention it, like I always do naturally. Like if there's someone in armor, like I will try to think about like what might they look like subconsciously.
Right.
And so I guess I would have said probably short dark hair.
Yeah.
Lots of scars, just real thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people probably had it in their mind that the Corruptor was somehow monstrous in some fashion. Like, they're expecting the helmet to come off and it's like Skeletor or like Cthulhu tentacles or something.
Or just charred, like burned.
Yeah, like a Doctor Doom type situation where his face is all messed up. But at the end of the day, I was just like, I want him to be a guy. Like this person that is sowing all of this destruction and chaos, who has all of this power, who terrifies you guys. It's a dude. Like, and
the way you described him, and the way, especially for me, the way you described how his eyes were, in my mind, you were describing eyes of someone who was kind of drugged, and that, like, to me, just like gave him so much character. It didn't take away the fact that I wanted to kill his ass, but it was great.
No, naturally not. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
I also want to give a huge shout out to Chepe Fontrodden, who has been writing haikus the entire session.
Yeah.
And they're all really good.
Yeah, they're good haikus.
They really are. And I actually was thinking that it's rare that I have favorite comments. Like, I don't even think that thought has crossed my mind. But this session, those have been my favorite comments. It's been a little side story the entire time.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So shout out to Chepe Fontrodden for doing that.
Yeah, he also this guy also does a Fontrodden, Fauntroddden on YouTube, I believe, and he does a game called The Fall of House Odenwald, which is kind of like a fantasy game inspired by Game of Thrones, kind of.
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones 5th edition.
Dude, if you are into like some seriously story-driven games, like it's like watching a TV show when you tune in. Oh my gosh, I cannot recommend that Fall of House Odenwald enough.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Wonderful.
Yeah, really enjoyed having Jenny on tonight. That was great. She's a trooper for staying up so late and doing that. I've been talking to her about doing that for a couple months. As soon as I knew that you guys were going to be heading towards Shade Vale, I knew that I wanted to have somebody else do Matron Elmira, and I think Jenny was just the natural choice for me. So.
A total surprise too. I mean, we were in. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah,
Matt.
these guys
we were
didn't
in a
know
separate
what was
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in a separate chat on Facebook messaging like, who do you think it is? I think it's Dungeon Master Johnny. I think it's the main man. I think it's freaking PhD&D. I think it's Kirk. It's like when Jenny popped up, it was like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, like
that's awesome. You guys were hypothesizing on Facebook?
Yeah, we were behind
Yeah,
your
we
back.
had a separate chat going.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have a matless chat on Facebook? And I'm not
Can I tell you how it started? Let me come clean. I started it to say, guys, I don't want to ask Matt, but who has the dragon scale? I was like, because when Keenrod tries to kill us, I want to roleplay it correctly. I don't remember, and I don't have time to watch the video. And so later, it was like, hey, who do you think it's... This was just tonight. Who do you think it's going to be?
and now we've started using it like fans of the TV show Lost. Like, why is the polar bear there, guys? What do you guys think?
Okay, so every day that you guys are quiet in the Provokers chat, I'm going to be like, they're over in the Matless chat right now.
You're going to get all paranoid.
They're over in the Matless chat right
I'm going to name it Matless Chat right now.
No, you should. It's
You should.
a fistful of nothing.
now.
Oh, he just did. He just did it. A fistful of nothing.
Here, Provokers have no secrets. You can, now that it's done, you can totally read it.
Are you going to add it? Add me to the chat?
Yeah, I'll just
We're
add
gonna
it.
have two. We're gonna have two chats that are the exact same thing.
God. All right.
So yeah, so now
By the way, I would never stay up to play in anybody's game at 4 a.m. I'm just saying.
I know. That's what I mean. Jenny is just is awesome for agreeing to do that, and I mean she knew what she was getting into. I was like, this is the time we normally play, and she's like, that's like 2 in the morning for me, but sure, like let's do it. So yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So Mir kind of ushers the matron away. They kind of disappear into the Hall of Bones, and you see that the Watchers are continuing to kind of, they're putting out the fires, they're killing any straggling orcs, piling up the bodies, and you see that they're also gathering up the bodies of the Watchers who were killed during the battle as well. And you guys are free to talk amongst yourselves as they do this, but Durgan, when you went for the sword, you haven't really had time to process it yet. It's almost like one of those dreams that you remember halfway through the day where you're like, oh yeah, I had a dream last night and it was this. And so you're kind of ruminating on it, and you remember that when you went to grab the sword and you were burned by this fire, you saw a face. It was a woman's face. And she was beautiful. One of the most beautiful women you've ever seen, and it was almost hard to see if she was human or elf or something in between or something different altogether. But this woman with just shock white hair and eyes with no whites, just glassy black eyes. She was close to you, Durgan, and she said, "Come to me, Durgan. Come to me and take the sword." And that's when your hand left the sword as the fire kind of arced up your arm. And that's all you remember.
awesome.
Mir approaches you guys after a while. And he nods to you and he says, "You all fought very well. I'm impressed, I have to say."
We've had a little bit of practice lately.
Yes, well, the orcs are getting bold, and now they have A new friend, it seems. And Mir kind of walks over and picks up the Corruptor's helmet that you've kind of emblazoned with this seal, Durgan. And he picks up the hammer and he kind of turns it over and he's like, he's just a man. You talk about him like he's some beast. He drops the helmet, but he's only a man. And he bleeds, just like all men do. What true threat does he pose to us? Tell me.
You know, I'm liking you less every minute.
My intention is not to be liked by a stone rift dwarf.
That's very obvious to us.
And Durgan would snatch up his hammer that this guy, this dude, this chief, this bro just picked up and dropped. He would just scoop it up and just turn and just start walking away, like pounding it in his fist. It's we all keep calling him the Provoker. Even Jenny almost did it. The Corruptor's helmet crunched as the second end of my hammer. I'm just like hitting it against my fist, walking away, going, "Don't do it! Don't do it! They'll arrest you. They'll kill you. Don't do it!" And he's just kind of pacing around, trying not to just punch this guy.
And Dice will say, he's the Corruptor. You know, everybody bleeds, including the Corruptor. That's right? His name is the Corruptor. And he looks at this person, this bro, and says, "Wait, what's your name again?" "I guess that's the difference." And he walks after Durgan.
Mir kind of has a smile on his face, and he looks at Aerdon and he says, "I may have struck a chord with your friends."
I respect you, but like them, I'm beginning to dislike you more and more. I know that you are my commander, technically. I'm at your mercy. I want you to know this. It is not even him that is so much a threat. There is an army. There are more than we have seen today. You remember that. There are giants, ogres. There is a dark power. And we will face it. It is not done.
And he kind of gets serious for a minute, and he says, "How many does he command?"
And I would recall from from our last session that we may have asked Una that, but I don't remember.
You got from her that there was potentially 15,000 marching towards Falhast.
Right, so I would say we don't know exactly, but the force marching on Falhast, we heard from the Corruptor's general before we killed her that there's at least 15,000.
15,000.
Unless you think it is just Falhast. Falhast will not be the end. Falhast will only be the beginning. He must be stopped.
He looks at you with a stone eye, and he knows that you're not deceiving him, Aerdon, and he says, "I was not aware that he had such a force at his command. This does pose a great threat." And Brasswick, if you're still there, he kind of looks over to you and he says, "You are from the north."
That I am.
Why do you care for such... for the things in the south?
before I came here, a lot of things happened. I had a vision. An Ilmater spoke to me, and it led me to the south. But you're right, normally a dwarf from the north would not care for this area. And now I have friends who have deep-seated roots down here, and what matters to them matters to me.
Fair enough. And with a force of 15,000, well, if they were able to cross the Sonageist Desert, they would lay waste to the north.
True.
You should,
Commander.
Yes?
You have the matron's ear. It is clear she relies on you. I know that you understand the gravity of this threat. Please, help her realize it too, if she ever forgets. The fate of our people rests on this. The fate of Shade Vale.
I will do what I can, Aerdon. I will do what I can.
Thank you, Commander. And I would kind of bow my head and begin to walk away and probably follow Durgan, who has stormed off.
And as you walk away, he calls after you. He says, "Make sure your uppity friends get a nap." And he starts walking away. So unless you guys want to discuss anything further, you can go ahead and bed down for the remainder of the night. There's maybe a few hours of darkness left before you have to get up.
Bed sounds good.
Yeah, I'm probably about fully rested at this point, so I
Okay.
would, from my 4 hours trance, but my friends might need a little more.
Right, yeah, because you only need the 4 hours of trance. So,
Yeah.
so you're wide awake. Everyone else is bedding down.
I would say Durgan would probably, and I don't want to extend it too long, but probably lay down in his bed until the others fell asleep. And if Aerdon was awake, he would notice that Durgan would get up, and he would take a small utilitarian blade, not a weapon, and he would go over to the hammer that now has the Corruptor's helmet as one of the sides with Blood Mountain's mark on it. And in one of the corners, he would start carving. And he would start carving. You don't know what he's carving, but Aerdon would probably be the only one that noticed that he's carving something. And does that for at least about an hour or two before he sets it back down and goes back to sleep.
Awesome.
Braswick made himself at home in his bed. I mean, he's like half covered with a sheet, arms off the bed, snoring really loud. You can hear him, way down the hall, everywhere.
Big hairy foot sticking out of one side of the bed.
Oh, yeah.
So Aerdon, you're awake as the sun is rising while the rest of your party is sleeping. Although I guess Durgan, you don't bed down.
I would say I stay. About how many hours is it? A good old 8-hour stretch.
It's about 3 or 4 hours until the sun's going to come up.
So if it's about 3 or 4 hours, I probably wouldn't sleep. I would do that thing where I fell asleep 20 minutes before my alarm went off.
Yeah.
And then when I wake up, I regret everything I did the night before. Yeah.
Oh man, I feel like we fought a big giant guy on a griffin last night. Oh my gosh.
Holy crap, we did!
A few minutes before dawn. So Durgan, you and Aerdon are awake. There's a light knock on the door, and the door kind of swings open, and Mir is standing there, and he says, Aerdon, I have someone here who wants to talk to you. And he kind of ushers in, and you see this young elven woman walk into the room, and Aerdon, You immediately recognize her. And she's skinnier than the last time you saw her. Her face is a little gaunter, and some of the color has gone out of her hair. You can see that she has some gray in her hair, which is not typical for elves to have. She's still quite lovely, as you remember her, but you can tell that she's been sick for some time. And as she sees you, her face lights up, and she rushes towards you. And as she's rushing towards you, her feet kind of catch, and she kind of falls into you, and just wraps you in this hug, and starts crying.
Yeah, and I would just cry out, "Lara Weiss!" And I would, just take her in my arms, and I would probably lift her up and just be holding her so tight. And I would be also probably crying into her tunic or whatever. And this would be the first time probably that my companions have ever seen me cry.
Yeah, and as you lift her up, Aerdon, she feels too light as you pick her up. Like she doesn't have enough weight to her as you pick her up. And Mir is standing there, and he kind of just like leans against the door jamb, and is kind of looking away, sort of awkwardly. Like he has to be there to make sure she doesn't run away, but he is kind of invading this very private moment. And he kind of locks eyes with you, Durgan, with his stone eye, and he just says, "Even in Shade Vale, we recognize the importance of family. How's your father?"
And I think that would kind of take Durgan aback. And he would just kind of, how do you know about?
And he just taps his stone eye.
And then Durgan would kind of understand everything that has happened and unfolded that he's been oblivious to, and just say, "Aye, he's better than he has been in a very long time. Thanks for asking."
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, all right, good deed done for the day, and he kind of just turns away from you and starts looking outside the door. Aerdon, Lara Wise finally gets herself under control, and she kind of steps back and wipes her face, and she says, "Aerdon, you've been gone for so long. Where did you go?"
I'm so sorry. And if I have gathered myself enough to speak, I actually once again break down and I'm so sorry. I never should have left. I ran. I went back to serve in the Shade Vale Guard, and then I left that too. I wanted to make it right. Father did so much wrong. I wanted to make it right by serving among our people, but I couldn't do it. All that matters is I'm back now. I'm going to make it right. I'm going to make sure you have a good life. I'm so sorry. I cannot say it enough. I'm sorry.
What about Father, Aerdon? They've locked him up. They call him a traitor.
He is a traitor. He was exiled. That's why we left.
But
they're calling him Troll Friend.
I know. I don't really understand why, but Aerdon, the reason why he's locked up is because he came back to try and help me. He came back because I got sick, and he needed medicine for me. He did it for me.
It's complicated. I understand that. All that matters is I'm here now, and I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure you're taken care of. And if you If you want Father to be safe and well, I'll do it for you, not for him. I'll do what I can.
I know you will, Aerdon. I know you will. Mir says you're going to the boneyard.
Yes, that's correct.
Are you going to see the trolls?
I think so.
Well, could you... Maybe they have something for me. Something that might help.
You think they might? Is that why Father went to them in the first place? Is that why they call him Troll Friend?
I don't know, Aerdon. I don't know. He doesn't talk about that time.
Yeah, he never did. I've learned more in the past 20 hours, 5 hours, than I did in years with him, decades with him. He was always so closed, so shut off.
You're like him, Aerdon.
I never want to be that way with you. I love you, Lara Wise.
She wraps you up in a big hug, and as she does, Mir kind of comes forward and puts a hand on her shoulder, and he leans down and he says, "Time's up, we have to go." And she kind of pulls away from you reluctantly and says, "I'll see you soon, Aerdon. I'll see you soon."
Yes, you will.
She kind of doubles over in a coughing fit as she's coming out, and Mir says, "Come on, we have to get you your medicine." And he looks at Aerdon, and he says, "Your father declined to see you."
Of course. It is better that way. Take good care of her, please.
We are.
Thank you.
And he looks to Dice and Brasswick, who are probably still in bed at this point, waking up at the commotion, and he says, "You should set out as soon as you can. It's a long march to the boneyard." And he leads Larawise out and shuts the door behind him.
Nate, would Aerdon know that Durgan was awake? I mean, I wasn't trying to hide it or anything.
Yeah, I would probably know. I've been sitting around just watching, spacing out. And
Sure. And so I guess that I would probably sort of do that awkward, like, your friend mom just came in and, like, yelled at him in front of you at a sleepover, like that weird, like, you can't escape the awkwardness. And I would kind of just... Lad, I don't know your business. And I don't know your clan's business with the trolls. But you're a dwarf friend. Aye? And if there are trolls that have any kind of magic that can heal your sister, well, maybe that might be a good friend to have. Just my piece. And then he would kind of go back to fiddling around with the helmet and etching things into it.
Brasswick, laying in bed, overhears all this and stretches real quick and starts scratching his belly and says, "You know, I don't know about trolls down here, but I know up in the north when we come across a troll, they're fierce, and you need to watch out. I've never trusted a troll. I've never known anyone to trust a troll. But I guess if that's what we have to do, then we have to do it."
indeed, you lot, you will make sure that I live to see my sister again.
Aye.
And that he lives to see his little girl again.
And I assume you're pointing toward a sleeping dice.
I am. Yep. So I would, I guess, start just kind of gathering my things, straightening things out, and if Dice is sleeping, I would give him a smack, flat of the sword on the butt or something like that.
I'm up. I'm ready. Where are we going?
Your
Somewhere
turn to make
dangerous.
breakfast.
I hate it when you guys speak at the same time. What was that, Durgan?
Durgan said, kind of looking over his shoulder, kind of at wherever Dice has been snoring, and says, "It's your turn to make breakfast."
It's always my turn to make breakfast.
And I had said, somewhere dangerous for the 7th time.
You get to cook on the meat, huh? There's still some of this fire out there.
Dice blushes and he says, "I think I put it all out, but sure, I'll cook whatever meat you have."
I'll help you. And I would imagine that Durgan would have some sort of awful thing from somewhere, some kind of weird, like, now browning flank steak.
Ram.
Something,
That'd be
yeah.
a ram.
Some awful stone rip, like, probably, like...
And I'll help you devour it.
I hear those worms have good protein.
And Dice would put his hand on Durgan's shoulder and on Brasswick's shoulder, and he'll look at Aerdon, and he'll kind of shake his head awake, and just give a knowing nod, and say, "I'm glad I've got you guys."
Yeah, you're not so bad yourself.
Now about that breakfast.
And I think that is the perfect time to wrap this session up. But
Awesome.
before we end,
Oh no.
in the village of Skull Ridge,
Cutscene.
Hivor, exactly, cutscene. Hivor Blackbone is standing over a map of Shade Vale. And he's standing there with his fist in his hand. And he's looking at troop placement. And he looks up at a couple of his lieutenants. And he says, "They should have been back by now. They're taking too long." And almost on cue, the front flap of the tent is thrown open, and the Corruptor walks in without his helmet. And Hivor looks at him, and his eyes kind of widen a little bit, seeing him without his helmet on. And the Corruptor walks in, and he's got this gash across his forehead, and there's dried blood on his face. And he walks in, and he grabs Hivor on the back of his neck and brings his face just within a few inches of his, and he says, "Gather your forces. We march on Shade Vale today." And just kind of pushes him back. And Hivor says, "What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you talking about?" And he says, the Corruptor says, "The ones known as the Provokers are in Shade Vale. They will die today." And that is where we will end the session for tonight.
He called us the Provokers!
He name dropped you.
He did!
Oh, man.
We're famous
Awesome.
now.
Jim has a name.
Oh, my gosh, guys.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
I teared up at Aerdon and his sister.
Yeah, Nate, that was great, man. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Really great role playing, man.
Well, same to you, man. That was intense.
Yeah. I didn't think he'd be able to handle the sister and the dad at the same time, so I held off on the daddy issues for this session. So
Yeah, that's good. Air doesn't want to see that man. That would have been a strange ball of emotions.
Durgan, I love putting the helmet on the hammer. That's super metal, dude. I love it. I love it.
I have some
good.
plans for that. I have some plans for that.
Oh, that's bitching, dude. That's super bitching.
I was glad. I was worried. I was worried you were gonna scoop up the helmet when he was flying away, and I was like, no, please don't. I want to use it.
No, see, I want the Corruptor to start being revealed little by little. It's like, all right, you know he's a Convoker. Now you've seen his face.
Right.
Maybe in a little bit you'll learn some more about what his deal is. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. So.
I'm sort of happy it wasn't Dice from the future, just to say. I feel like that would be the epitome of railroading for my character.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Dice, no matter what you do, you're going to turn into an evil tyrant, genocidal maniac, so get ready for that, dude.
Could have been an alternate reality.
Yeah, it could have been alternate reality, Dice.
J.J. Abrams!
I think it would have been hilarious for him to take off the helmet, and I love the idea that it's Brasswick and Durgan standing on each other's shoulders.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna look at the comments here really quick as we sign off here. So I don't know when we're gonna play again. May is a busy month for everybody, but we will hopefully find a Sunday in there so we can get a session in May.
The plan is to play. I don't know if anybody's watching the Cerseiline games on my channel, but
Everybody is. It should be.
The plan is to play on the 29th.
Yes, 29th for Cerseiline. So I'm excited about that.
Barring any issues, because I know that all of us have like what is it, a total of a dozen birthdays of different people in May.
Between Mother's Day, my fiance's birthday, my sister's birthday, my dad's birthday, my best friend's birthday. It's ridiculous. And I know Tim has like 19 birthdays in May too. So
it's my birthday.
And it's Barker's birthday.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, I want to put this out there too, because a couple people have asked me like what happens like after the Provokers, like if they beat the Corruptor, like what happens after that, like where do they go? And my fiance and I were talking last night. It was like 1 a.m, and we had one of those conversations where we were just like talking about like just D&D and like spouting off ideas and stuff. And I was saying about how like I didn't know where the Provokers were going to go, and I just realized that these guys are such awesome players, and I love these characters so much that I never want the Provokers to end. And you know how like TV shows go on too long and running into the ground? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that with the Provokers. Like we're gonna go until it's not fun anymore, honestly.
Until Durgan and Dice have the same like broken up relationship 3 times in a row.
Yeah, will they? Won't they? Yeah, exactly. No,
Durgan and Brasswick have 1,000 bar fights.
Yes.
But I want to
bloodline again. Oh.
I want to format it like a TV show with seasons, kind of like you do, Barker, where you have seasons that with breaks in between, where season 1 will probably be about 15 sessions, I think, is what I'm shooting for.
Nice.
So we're over halfway done with this season. We'll probably take a couple months off, few months off, maybe let somebody else run a campaign of some kind that we can all play in, and then kick it off with season 2. And I just want to say that I already have ideas for what I want to do with season 2 and season 3. So I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So yeah.
And I just want to jump out there really quick and say that like all of you guys who are watching this right now, like you guys rule.
Yeah.
Like this is turned into something that none of us ever thought it would have. Kind of almost like a TV show, you know. And every single day we get messages from you guys saying that, oh man, just inspirational stuff. And just thank all of you. Seriously, thank you guys for watching this game, watching us play D&D. And I swear to you that any day that you guys start your own game, you shoot me a message, you shoot Matt a message, any of these guys, we will watch you play D&D. I swear. Bring it on.
We will.
Yep.
I always check that stuff out. And yeah, what Barker said, I appreciate everybody who watches and interacts with us. And yeah it's just been awesome.
give us inspiration, give us ideas. The scars last week, all this stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
man, this is a.
Oh, we didn't do our
community thing.
fan
It's fun.
interaction tonight. We didn't take anything from the fans tonight.
Yeah, I did use a.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I forgot to.
Quick, everybody,
No.
get back into character.
Yeah. No. There is the Fistful of Dice Facebook. I do a lot of Provoker stuff on the Fistful of Dice Facebook. There's a link down below in the description, and I've actually been doing like voting on like things that are going to happen and stuff. Like there's going to be an encounter in session 9 that was inspired by things that people were voting on and stuff like that. So if you want to get more involved in that kind of stuff, you can always go there and interact with me on there and stuff like that. So I'd say that's the easiest way to get your Provoker fix in between Provoker sessions. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's getting late, so I think we're gonna call it here and let the East Coasters get to sleep.
You guys want to do some quick intros?
Yes, if we could, please. So and Juice wasn't here to introduce himself at the beginning, so let's go ahead and do our sign-offs. We'll go ahead and start with Barker.
Yeah, Barker, Be a Better Game Master is my channel. Also, I've been playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm with Matt and a bunch of other dudes. And my my battle tag is Be a Better GM, so just jump on with me. Play some HOTS with me. And
Yeah.
everybody have a great day.
Yeah, we might put some footage up of us just failing completely at Heroes of the Swarm. So I think that'd be fun.
It won't be a how-to video. It'll be a how-to-suck video. How
Yeah.
to have fun while sucking.
Yes, exactly, because that's what we do. Yeah. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, WASD20 is the channel. WASD20.net is the website, and I've got a new series, How to Play D&D. So if you're new to it, or if you know people who are, check it out.
Absolutely. All right, Juice.
Yeah, I'm Juice. You can see all my plugs right here on my screen right now. RPGjuice.com. I just did 2 days in a row, 2 blog posts. So you can go check those out. One was about finding motivation, and the other one was about the game room I've been working on. So yeah, go check those out. And then the one-shot group, I said earlier, it's 12 people away. It's actually 17 people away from 2,000 members.
Ooh, man, go join the one-shot group, guys. Get it to 2,000 members.
Oh,
OSG!
and one last thing. The campaign I was going to start that was supposed to be yesterday, we had a player wasn't able to make it. So we will be starting sometime in May, date to be determined. So, and that's going to be called the Anvil Ringers. You'll be able to see it on my YouTube channel.
I can't wait to see that game, man. That's going to be great.
Very much.
All right, Tim, take us home, man.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Tim. We are from I say we, my invisible better half isn't here. That's James, who also is the one who got us all the beta keys for Heroes of the Storm. So
Yes, what a champ.
many applause for James. But we are actually planning a relaunch. What does that mean? Well, we're figuring it out as we go. We just thought that we could do better. So this is for us because we wanted to do something for you. So you'll just have to wait and see. And I just want everybody to know that I genuinely appreciate you guys, and you guys too. Juice, Nate, Barker, Matt. This is my gaming group. This is my D&D fix, and this is how I express myself for the game, and this is where I get a lot of ideas for videos. So everyone watching, everyone who could be doing something else, to echo Barker, it just means so much because we're sharing something together. We're telling a story together, and this is an experience I'll remember for the rest of my life. And Matt, I'm with you, man. Let's do this from the nursing home, right?
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, like, why do game groups break up? People move away. They don't have time anymore. But it's like, if we can find 3 hours every month, every couple months to just sit down and play, we can keep this going.
And as long as nobody in the group starts dating another person, we don't have to worry about that awkward breakup.
I mean,
Yeah.
We're not breaking up, man.
I got a huge man crush on Juice, so I don't know if that's gonna hold out. So.
Ooh, ouch.
It's that Patreon.
It's that Patreon, man. It's that Patreon. Anyway, thank you again, guys, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the double header of Provokers action. We may do it again at some point. But until next time, look for us in May. And as always, may your pizzas be hot and ready.
Ready.